KUAM-FM, Hagaya, Guam. You're listening to The Link with Chris and Sabrina on Breeze 93.9.
Checking out all the clubs. See the pretty ladies on the street, yeah. So pretty you fall in love. Island girls everywhere you go. Gotta give shouts out to our local girls. A little island out in the sea. Short drives everywhere, that's fine with me. The local boys, we're cruising in, we're checking out the scene. Gotta find the women, where can they be? Cause I say, love for an island is what we do. Lovely women, beautiful beaches, just to name a few. To name a few, fiestas and barbecues. That's what we like, that's what we like. Love for an island, it makes you feel alright. Cause I say, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright. Cruising down the island now, you're checking out the green. Makes you feel at home, baby, do you know what I mean? It may be hot, it may be small, but remember, old tomorrows will stand tall. Cause I say, love for an island is what we do, is what we do. Lovely women, beautiful beaches, just to name a few, to name a few. Fiestas and barbecues, that's what we like, that's what we like. Love for an island, it makes you feel alright. Cause I say, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright. Love for an island is what we do, is what we do. Lovely women, beautiful beaches, just to name a few, to name a few. Fiestas and barbecues, that's what we like, that's what we like. Love for an island, it makes you feel alright. Cause I say, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright. Island songs are strictly for the islands. We giving shouts out to everybody. Island songs are for the fighting units. Can't give these our get up, get groovy, say rockin' the island. Island songs are for the get up and skank now. Put your hands together, then we clap to the beat now. Island songs are strictly for the islands. We giving shouts out to everybody. Sing, love for an island is what we do, is what we do. Lovely women, beautiful beaches, just to name a few, to name a few. Fiestas and barbecues, that's what we like, that's what we like. Love for an island, it makes you feel alright. Cause I said, it makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright, alright, alright. It makes you feel alright.
The Link, here on Breeze 93.9 FM.
Please don't change the line. Keep your number same. I know I'm far away, but I swear I'll never change. So just keep the light on. Keep the light on. Keep the light on. Keep the light on. And remember my face. Big up to all the warriors, working hard every day, no matter what the situation is. Man, love my co-pollination. Stand up strong and listen to what they book. Element press boom, I say. I watch these birds flying. They remind me how far I am from where I'm from. They're getting higher and they fly inside me. Righteous soon to tell you how far I've come. Please don't change the love. Keep your number safe. I know I'm far away, but I swear I'll never change. So just keep the light on. Leave the light on, yeah. And remember my face. Well, I will. Said I've got to keep moving, got to keep grooving. Stay focused and keep on improving. Said I've got to keep rocking, got to keep stomping. Longevity's what we're pursuing. There's been times where I just felt like giving it all up, but I knew I couldn't stop when I hear my people come. Blood of a dynasty, yes, heart of a chief. Any obstacle we pass through, we not defeat. So big up to all the warriors, working hard every day, no matter what the situation is. Man, love my co-pollination. Stand up strong and listen to what they book. And I'm on Chris Boom, I say. Change the line. Keep your number same. I know I'm far away, but I swear I'll never change. So just keep the light on. Leave the light on, yeah. And remember my face. Now the truth is that when I go, I miss you like hell, but there's so much to do and I'm not done. I'll be back soon just to say hello and wish you well. Then let us fall apart while I'm gone. Please don't change the line. Keep your number same. I know I'm far away, but I swear I'll never change. So just keep the light on. Keep the light on. And remember my face. Please don't change the line. Keep the number same. I know I'm far away, but I swear I'll never change. So just keep the light on. Keep the light on, yeah. And remember my face.
Sinyauli Denmark. Et uita saluda antes de nega. Radzaudzan malak estrezas durante todo memu. A nogi distancia kumukupugi palu zangiman malak guafi ikonum nasugi airi prebatula noci nai banderata gaigi pues atan fanni bandera kau esta pagua pumalalapa giluk tanu man libri centamiti man ko badi.
Fanogi chamoru puritanota kantai matunonya gitoru iluga Paraiona Parai Gloria a big islas en Paraiona, Parai Gloria, aviva islas el Toru y tempo y paz, paraíta, zanginina bendición. Contra perigo na vansa fuam Deus proteis landon Contra perigo na vansa fuam Deus proteis landon.
lugar Island Guard Uri Dongya Todung na Tosi Sabona Mandong Kulutan Bedi Zai Chong Kusia Man Florist Odu Bunito na lugar Island Guard Bunito na lugar Island Guard Samzu todu Iman hoben night samoru Fanatu Data fan panidosu Da esti sweateta night todu Bonito na lugar Island Guard Bonito na lugar Island Guard Bonito na lugar Island Guard Island
Morning, Guam. Morning, Sabrina.
Good morning.
There you go. That's it. Pass it. Let's do it. Break fluid. It's 6:20 Wednesday. Let's get over this hump. February 10th, 2021, the year of our Lord. Welcome to this episode of The Link. Good morning. Good morning, KUAM TV land. Looking good this morning with your biscucho and your coffee. Yeah, day.
Your pantosta.
Your panada. Good morning to our viewers on Facebook Live here joining us on our KUAM News Facebook page. Good morning, Jason Solis.
Good morning. Sorry, guys. I got a call. I had to answer the call of nature.
Oh, wow.
Thanks.
When
for
nature
sharing.
calls, you pick up, bro.
Yeah. It's what happens when you come in at 3:30 in the morning and for some reason drink like 72 ounces of water.
Your bladder has aged like 70 years during this pandemic.
Oh, boy.
Well, good morning, Jay.
Good morning. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Morning, Joe, sir. Yeah, it's been, 24 hours?
Yeah, wow, it's long. What a long time. Good morning, Facebook Live, where we have Raymond McGravy. Good morning, Guam from North Dakota.
Hey, cold over there.
North Dakota, eh?
Yeah, no, that's Canada. Hey, but you know what? Go Bison.
Wait, North Dakota is Fargo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Great football team, though. Go Bison.
Emma Fernando Olalia, good morning. Have a great day. Marie Duenas Perez, good morning, my peeps. Good morning. Uli Tutai, Hafaday, good morning, Guam. Lucy Gray, Hafaday, Guam, and KUAM team.
Hey, good morning from Mama Bear, who is in Kentucky, and she posted on Facebook, did Debbie Davis, and she said yucky weather is coming her way, so we'll keep you in our prayers.
Yeah. Roberto Francesini, buongiorno, Guam.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Francesini.
Glenn is saying he loves your shirt, Chris. That's nice.
Thank you. I don't know what it's like. Bathroom tile.
I was gonna say it either looks like bathroom tile or pixel art.
Right, it's like pixelized bathroom tile, but fashionable.
Backsplash.
Thank you, Glenn. I actually picked it up at Macy's. It was one of these like $80 shirts normally, but then they throw it away because no one wants it because it looks like bathroom tile.
Right.
And then you get it for like $14.
Okay, hey, I got a shout out from
Backsplash. Okay.
I've got a well, actually, if you lie down on the bathroom, you could probably like blend right in and do the whole chameleon thing.
Where'd he go?
Nakayama Walter Gustav is saying good morning from Mighty, and as
Right
everybody
on.
knows, Mighty has an amazing view. This incredible vista when you get up in the morning anywhere in Mighty, go out and like look and everything. You get an incredible view of Agani Heights.
Right.
Yeah. And on some days, maybe like this morning and everything, you can actually see. It's the trippiest thing. You'll actually see the clouds
Fog.
descend on and the fog.
And Sin Anya, yep. The hills of Sin City.
Yeah, like right over there near the.
Also, Pago Bay and Menangan are also some foggy areas. You know where's the foggiest area in Guam, though? Mongfog.
Shout out to our friends in Mugfog / Machechi. Everybody starting from KFC all the way into. What's that? Nestor even used to live there, like way in the back. Those condos over there, really nice places.
At 6:23, the show is brought to you by Cabo Enterprises, Carrier, and IT&E. It's The Link. My name's Chris. That's Sabrina, Jason Solis, KUAM, KUAM, KUAM. Here's what's coming up on the show this morning. We'll hear from Speaker of the 36th Guam Legislature, Senator Therese Terlahi. She comes on every other Wednesday. And then we get our weekly education update with the Superintendent of the Guam Department of Education, Mr. John Fernandez. Actually, where's that thing, Jay? Oh, here. Yeah, and we're also getting a William Kando GMH.
Sorry, I only printed out like 9,000 pieces of paper this morning.
I know.
Sorry, Rainforest.
And we'll do Cover Me this morning, which is brought to you by Burger King at 6:24 on a Wednesday. That's what's coming up here on the link. And Here's to Your Health. Jay, what do you have this morning for Here's to Your Health?
Yeah, so our friend Dr. Kelly Neal from American Medical Center is going to join us later on this morning, and we are going to talk about palliative care and maybe
That's end of life care.
Yeah, so basically, and a lot of people get palliative care confused with like hospice care. Palliative care is meant to minimize the suffering and the discomfort from people who are suffering from or who have long-term illnesses and everything like that. There's a lot of gray area there, and Dr. Kelly's really good at explaining that kind of stuff.
We have another comment here from, where does that go? Where'd that go? Oh, Patricia Ann Atelig writes, Buenas and nuevo nahani. Yep, a new day for us to try and be better than we were yesterday.
Hey, there's a side chat going on by the Link fam in the comments. Glenn said, Sabrina looks great. Debbie said to Glenn, Sabrina always looks great.
Be a day.
Thank you.
So I'm going to add to that. Sabrina always looks great. Keep it going, guys. Let's make Sabrina hashtag Sabrina Blush.
Hashtag Sabrina Blush.
This is what I have to do when there's no more football on. I'm wondering what I'm going to think about. Well, no, because we got NBA right now, so.
NBA.
Yeah.
Good morning, guys. Again, it's 6:25.
Baseball should be starting in about a month. Spring training at least.
Nice. COVID baseball. Are they going to do it COVID style?
Well, last year it wasn't so much of a bubble. The NBA was really the ones that kind of pioneered the whole bubble idea and everything like that. Baseball did not, but they had cardboard cutouts of what should have been fans and everything like that. So they might. But
hey, heads up, guys! If you're coming through Barragata Heights, Department of Rev and Tax, the traffic there. We played a video the other morning. It's really bad. It's backed up, curving all the way around Vinny's, up the road to Barragata Heights. There are a couple officers on the scene.
Wow.
Directing traffic, but yeah, it's pretty crazy over there. Is it their Manamco hour or something?
That I believe it doesn't. It's not till like 8 or
Yeah. So people are lining up for the right to line up.
And it's going to be a busy Friday for the Department of Revenue and Taxation. That's when tax filing season begins.
Right.
And as you heard from Daphne last week, they are trying to push out as much stimulus as they possibly can because it's going to really ramp up really quick. And they actually issued a release yesterday reminding taxpayers that the 2021 income tax filing season, again, scheduled to begin Friday. This is the date that DRT will begin accepting 2020 tax year returns and is in line with the date that the IRS will also begin the nation's tax season. The due date for filing tax returns remains unchanged and is Thursday, April 15th, 2021. They will have the forms online.
On myguamtax.com.
Right. Well, this says limited forms 1040 and 1040 SR available at DRT's main office in Barrigada. Taxpayers may obtain forms during DRT walk-in servicing hours 8 to noon, Monday through Friday. Forms are also available online at www.govguamdocs.com. And then the instructions, will be found on the
Right.
IRS.
They already got the 1040 up there, too.
Okay, I got a comment about
Guys, just heads up. Go file your taxes.
Yes.
Go file your taxes.
And try to do it online.
Yeah.
Please
you
do it
can.
online.
If you do it
Daphne
online,
is
it's-
imploring everybody.
It's instantly processed when you submit it.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if they come out with another stimulus, we don't know what year they're going to use. So if you didn't file 2019, you better get on it.
Yeah. Remember,
So you can get the stimulus.
Remember
and not
On
a,
it.
remember, Chris, when we were like,
and not a credit.
remember right after high school for people like our age, Chris, remember when we have to go like renew your car registration or put your taxes in and everything like that, when Revenue Tax used to be in Teason, everybody just habitually would go there like around lunchtime, or maybe you'd take like a break from you'd work through lunch and then you'd take like maybe an hour off of work. And the trick used to be the very first one at Revenue Tax. Like show up there maybe like 7:50, 7:45, and then boom, you're right in, because who goes there, like who wants to be the first one in line at DMV, right? People picked up on that over the years, and now if you try and be the first one in the morning, everybody's there.
Bro, I mean-
as you can
Really?
see now.
I've gone, the last time I went towards the very end of the day.
That's
and
when
there
you
was
go.
no line.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I was-
So-
I mean, I don't know about now, but that's when you go is like 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
wait,
Right,
where did
yeah.
Revenue Tax used to be before
Back
it moved
in the
to Teason?
day.
Because remember, it was in Teason for a lot of years, but where was Revenue Tax before? Was it down in Anigua? Like where the One Stop Center is? No.
I'm reaching back,
no,
Jay.
Teason. Weren't they in
No,
Teason?
before Teason.
Oh,
because
Teason.
before of course before.
Yeah,
it was
Bree, where were
Teason-
they before the place everyone remembers they were?
I don't
at
know. When
before?
I moved
'Cause
to
it was-
Guam,
'cause-
they were in Teason.
Yeah.
And, that was
And prior to that, it
96.
couldn't be in Teason because Teason was still known as Naval Air Station, NAS.
Probably it was in Agania, the DOA building.
Yeah, I mean, I remember what used to be the Attorney General's office down like right next to the police
Gosh,
department.
remember
that
there
big-
was a DOA building down
Yeah.
in Agania.
Yep.
the
That's
DOA
right.
building. Oh yeah, that's right. The DOA building. I used to go when
That used
when
to
I
be DOE also.
when I worked at the mall.
Used
I
to be
had
a good
go
place
and
to
get-
sell donuts.
Yeah, when I worked at the mall a couple times when I was a kid, I had to go get police clearances down at that big, at GPD's records.
Pedro's
division.
Plaza.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pedro's
What is
Plaza.
it now? It's haunted.
Yeah.
It's one of these properties. They try and sell. They're gonna be like, oh, it's haunted.
Yeah, GPD used to be in there. That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
AG's office used to be in there.
Right. And now it kind of seems like all the government agencies, with the exception of Guadeloupe, have migrated out of our island's capital.
I remember when all of the GovGuam agencies moved to Teason, and they kind of like they took the place of what used to be officer, or was it even off? Yeah, it was officers' housing.
John Duanius writes, DRT had its own building across Pigo Cemetery.
There used to be
Oh, I
where
was-
land
hey, I was
management, right? Land management.
Oh,
used to
land
be-
management. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I was
yeah,
right.
yeah,
That was in
yeah.
Anigua.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I knew I got that one. Okay, so when all the GovGuam
I remember I interviewed Carl Uggan there at land management way back.
That's way.
That's way.
Yeah, so when all the GovGuam agencies moved to Teason, right? I remember this, and I would go there to either file my taxes or do stuff, and I was like, wow. I think I'd only been on Naval Air Station maybe twice because friends of mine, they had base passes or it was like some special occasion and everything like that. But you went in there and it's like these were former military offices or barracks or things like that, and you went in and it's like, wow, man, like. I remember when Bree sent me out on an assignment. I think I was in my second year at KUM. I had to go interview somebody at the Guam Waterworks Authority, which is like one of those houses like right now when you go on that road in like Teason, it's like beautiful cliffside view, but it's right over there. It was somebody's like townhouse, and this was GWA's office. It was crazy.
Remember when there used to be a Teason Reuse Authority?
Oh, yeah, I
office?
remember. Yeah.
But I mean, you would go through that part. Like if you were lucky enough to go through Naval Air Station, they had like the big diving board. Remember that with the pool?
Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that. I used to work for MWR way back, and I worked at there was like a rec center on in Teason, kind of where the runway is. And that was one of my summer jobs.
Oh, that was cool.
Yeah.
GPD used to be in Teason.
GPD
Right.
had that big building. That was
And
a-
GFD.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. And now where are they at? ITC?
GPD or GFD?
GFD is at.
GFD is in the DNA building in again,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
And GPD, they have their
They're whole by Teason High.
yeah.
In all the years you've been covering Guam sports, Bree, what is the
sports.
or I'm sorry, Guam news, I should say. I've got sports on the brain.
Yeah, I've covered a little bit of sports too.
Yeah. What is the one agency you think you've visited the most? You've done like face-to-face interviews back when that was still a thing. Like, what is the one agency that you've covered the most?
Ooh,
Because you've been to court
I've covered a lot.
bunch of times. You've been to
GPD, Guam EPA, Adelup. I covered a lot, Jace.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yep.
I couldn't say which one because I was always doing everything.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
I can't
Even now.
really say.
Whatever it is, it's a lot, Jay.
Yeah.
6:32. Let's go ahead and get her to cover everything, then, shall we?
Speaking of,
With a look at the very latest from the KUAM news
great
team.
segue, bro.
Good morning, Sabrina Salas Matanani.
Howfit, everybody. The fate of Mark Mayo was left in the hands of a jury. Adriana Cotero reports on closing statements delivered Tuesday in the District Court of Guam.
A federal indictment charges Mark Mayo with count 1 conspiracy to distribute meth and count 2 attempted possession of meth with intent to distribute. It's up to a jury to decide whether he is guilty for the offenses. It was from April 2018 to May 2018 that Mayo allegedly conspired with others to include drug lord Lavilia Mendoza to mail in a package containing over 400 grams of meth. On May 10, 2018, the feds intercepted the package and made an arrest on 2 other federal drug defendants for their role in the crime. Mayo is the lone defendant to assert his innocence in the case. Prosecuting the case, Assistant United States Attorney Laura Sambataro has brought forth evidence portraying Mayo as an asset to Mendoza. In closing statements, Attorney Sambataro went through how the evidence proved 4 points, all leading to Mayo's relationship with Mendoza to be strictly business. The 4 points include 1. There was an ongoing conspiracy to distribute meth. 2. Mark Mayo was a member of the conspiracy. 3. The attempted receipt of the package on May 10th was in furtherance of the ongoing conspiracy to distribute meth. And 4. Mark Mayo knew what he was getting into when he agreed to the hot potato plan of picking up the package off the side of the road from 2 other defendants, Daniel Pangilinan and Joseph Roman, in an effort to keep it away from the feds. The government went on to explain Mendoza's drug-dealing organization, referring to Mayo as one of her boys. As stated in court, Mayo worked his way up to moving an ounce of meth for $7,500, and he was one of Mendoza's top sellers, able to make $20,000 or more per week. As a member of her organization, Mendoza used connections to protect her assets. Sambataro stating that the boss gave the former mayor of Jonia, Jesse Blas, bribes to pay off Mayo's warrants and keep him out of jail. Quote, it's an interest for him to stay out of jail because he is selling meth for her, unquote. The government's roughly hour-long closing statement concluded with Attorney Sambataro stating that the case involved over 400 grams of meth to be distributed into the community. And the evidence shows it was part of a business that has grown incrementally over time, with Mayo as a member of this business. And the community deserves a guilty verdict on both counts. On the defense, Attorney Roland Mantegnonia has argued his client was used in this conspiracy and was unaware of what the package contained. He maintains this argument throughout his closing statements, as Attorney Mantegnonia says Mayo was a gopher who Mendoza called upon to do her dirty work. Further, the defense shifted the focus, stating, quote, this case is not about Mark Mayo. Mark Mayo is a nobody. You must have wondered why the mayor of Jonia was in this case. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this entire case revolved around the mayor, unquote. Mantegnonia explained how the feds were delving into public corruption cases throughout the government of Guam and wanted evidence to convict the former mayor of Jonia, Jesse Blas. And for this reason, they did not arrest Mayo until they found out about the warrants. Mayo was arrested on November 19, 2019, and as reported, Blas was arrested nearly 2 months prior in September 2019. Blas was sentenced last month on extortion charges for allowing drug trafficking through village mailboxes in exchange for bribes. As stated in court, Mendoza was a former girlfriend of Blas. The defense was quick to point out the ringleader's connections, as mentioned during trial, to Blas, Guam's probation office, Superior Court Marshals, the Guam Police Department, and GPD's Mandana Drug Task Force. Mantegnonia ends his closing statements with saying that the government has not proved beyond a reasonable doubt Mayo is guilty of this crime, and even after a thorough investigation, none of it will lead to Mayo knowing what was inside the package and find him guilty of the 2 charges. As for the public corruption allegations being made regarding GovGuam agencies, KUAM is awaiting a response from the judiciary, and we have reached out to Adaloop Communications Director Crystal Paco San Agustin for a comment. As of news time, we have yet to receive a response.
And with more news now, here is Peter Santos.
Confident and good morning, everyone. I'm Peter Santos with your headlines here on The Link. A grand jury indictment charges Larry Gagin with murder as a first-degree felony with a special allegation for possession or use of a deadly weapon in the commission of a felony attached, along with several other offenses. He was arrested on January 25th for the fatal shooting of Jared Kunchenko. The incident occurred the day prior on January 24th at a makeshift structure in Dedito. Gagin and the victim were close friends. However, a fight ensued, and according to court documents, the defendant stated that he was defending his family when he shot the victim in the back. A $250,000 cash bail has since been set for Gagin. In addition to murder, the indictment charges the defendant with aggravated assault as a second and third-degree felony with a special allegation attached, possession of a firearm without a valid firearms identification card as a third-degree felony, and possession or ownership of an unregistered firearm as a third-degree felony. He is summoned to appear for an arraignment hearing in Magistrate Judge Jonathan Kwan's courtroom on February 10th at 3 p.m. A lack of social distancing aboard USS Teddy Roosevelt is what led to the COVID outbreak aboard ship. That was among the key findings in the Defense Department's Inspector General's report. Nestor Lecanto has more.
The Inspector General's report placed the blame squarely on the commanders of the nuclear warship. It found that, quote, the ineffective implementation of social distancing and the premature release of sailors from quarantine were primary causes of increased infection on board the ship. The report said leadership also allowed social gathering areas to remain open and continued to conduct urine tests for illegal drugs instead of addressing the threat posed by the new virus. The IG said the Navy had appropriate plans to counter a potential outbreak of an infectious disease, but the measures were not fully implemented. TR Commander Captain Brett Crozier warned of the outbreak in a letter leaked to the media, but he was ultimately still relieved of his duties, and former Navy Secretary Thomas Modly also resigned as a result. The ship was forced to make an unscheduled port call on Guam and spent many weeks docked here for testing and medical observation. More than 1,200 sailors, or 27% of the 4,800 crew, tested positive for COVID. One crew member died at the Naval Hospital, Guam. Governor Leon Guerrero had also approved the Navy's request to use local hotels as quarantine facilities. The IG recommended that the Navy update its policy and draft a plan of action to carry out biennial exercises on pandemic influenza and infectious diseases. For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
The Superior Court of Guam has found probable cause to charge retired psychiatrist Dr. Abner Pasatiempo with 7 counts of both official misconduct and harassment.
Dr. Abner Pasatiempo was an employee with the Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center until December 13, 2019, the date he resigned. A magistrate's complaint charges the doctor with 7 counts of official misconduct and 7 counts of harassment. According to the complaint, the alleged offenses occurred at appointments or sessions with clients between March 2018 and December 2019, while the defendant was a government employee. As stated in the declaration, throughout the month of February 2019, a female victim was present at an appointment with then psychiatrist Dr. Pasatiempo at GBHWC. The woman was there to discuss her desire to discontinue taking certain prescription antidepressant medication, and the defendant recommended she be weaned off the medication. However, she informed Pasatiempo that she had already stopped taking the medication for the past month and a half. Further, in court documents, the defendant allegedly told the victim she may feel anxiety due to stopping the medications, and that there were pressure points that would help rid the anxiety. The defendant then stood behind her in an effort to show her the pressure points, in which he allegedly moved both of his hands to her breasts. The victim pulled away and told Pasatiempo she felt uncomfortable. More victims have come forward reporting the alleged office misconduct from the months of March 2018, December 2018, June 2019, and October 2019. This included an incident with Department of Corrections inmates. Court documents state the defendant asked a female inmate inappropriate questions regarding sexual behaviors. The prisoner had monthly appointments with Pasatiempo, in which she allegedly changed her medications and upped her doses. During an October 2019 appointment with the victim, she was joined with another female at Pasatiempo's request. In his office, the defendant stared at them in silence, then stated to the females they were beautiful and that, quote, it was a shame they used drugs, unquote. The defendant allegedly offered to get them a house or go off island so that they could stay together, and he offered to pay for it. The Office of the Attorney General sent a press release announcing that the court finds the charges filed against Pasatiempo are supported by probable cause. As stated in the release, under Guam law, a misdemeanor or petty misdemeanor crime must be charged within 1 year of the date the incident occurs. However, there is an exception to the general rule when the offense is based on misconduct in office by a public employee. Since the offense is based on misconduct in office, prosecution can commence against the public official or employee during their employment or within 3 years after their employment ends. KUAM has reached out to GBHWC regarding the matter. As of news time, we have yet to receive a response. A summons was issued. Pasatiempo is to appear before Magistrate Judge Benjamin Sison on March 5th, 2021.
That's the news for now. We'll see you all at 6 tonight on Primetime.
Thanks, Peter. Senators have now been added to the list of eligible individuals authorized to be vaccinated. They were approved by the Vaccine and Antiviral Prioritization Policy Committee during their meeting yesterday. According to a Joint Information Center release, as critical service workers in the legislative branch and to ensure continuity of government, all 15 senators, regardless of age, are now eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Meanwhile, the National Guard's vaccination clinics at the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse continues today through Saturday from 1 to 7 p.m. These clinics will prioritize those due for their second dose of the Pfizer or Moderna vaccine. Pfizer first doses will be limited to 50 per hour for eligible individuals. No first doses of the Moderna vaccine will be administered. Residents are advised to schedule an appointment online. Additionally, homebound vaccinations continue today in Dededo, tomorrow at Global Dorm and Guma San Jose, and Friday in the village of Jigo. In addition to the vaccination clinics held at the UOG Calvo Fieldhouse, Public Health has approved several additional private clinics and pharmacies for eligible residents to receive their vaccines. Again, if you are in any of the categories approved by the VAPPC, you can get vaccinated at Adult Health Clinic, AMC locations in Oka, Manilao, and Tumon, the Cancer Center of Guam, FHP, Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, GMH, GRMC, SDA, the Hagåtña Med Clinic, HSP, IHP, Rexall Drugs, the Doctors Clinic, Tumon Medical Office, and United Family Clinic. A total of 35,816 people have been vaccinated to date. Of that number, 27,040 received their first dose, while 8,776 people on Guam have been fully vaccinated. The Joint Information Center reports that out of 420 tests performed Monday, 9 returned positive for COVID. Of the new cases, 2 reported recent travel history and were identified in quarantine. To date, there have been a total of 7,673 officially reported cases of COVID since March of last year, with 130 deaths. 92 cases are active, while there have been over 7,400 recoveries. Currently, there are 8 people hospitalized, 3 in ICU, 3 on ventilators. Guam's CAR score has increased and is now at 1.0. The Guam Department of Education confirms that 2 separate incidents in which 2 GDOE students tested positive for COVID. One student attends Atacao Elementary and the other student attends Chief Brody Memorial School. GDOE, in collaboration with Public Health, have identified and notified the individuals who were in close contact with the students. Those individuals will remain in quarantine until such time as they are cleared by Public Health to return to school. Areas of the campus have been cleaned and disinfected in preparation for face-to-face instruction, which will continue as scheduled today. In national news, day 1 of the second impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump gets underway. The big focus of day 1 will be whether the Constitution allows Congress to impeach a president after he's left office. Natalie Brand reports.
House impeachment managers will make their way through the same rotunda rioters stormed January 6th to present the case former President Donald Trump incited an insurrection.
I do think it seems open and shut.
Day 1 begins with a debate over the constitutionality of an impeachment trial against a president no longer in office. In a pre-trial briefing, Mr. Trump's attorneys called the trial political theater.
The whole point of an impeachment is to try to remove someone from office. Well, if someone's out of office, then what's the point in going and trying to do the impeachment?
Democrats point out most constitutional scholars agree they can move forward.
A president cannot simply resign to avoid accountability for an impeachable offense, nor can they escape judgment by waiting until their final few weeks in office to betray our country.
Kentucky Senator Rand Paul tried to force a vote on the constitutionality of the impeachment trial last month, saying it should be dismissed. 45 Senate Republicans supported his effort, indicating a conviction is unlikely.
If you feel that you have no authority, then you can't go on and say, well, we have no authority, but I guess I'll go ahead and convict anyway.
Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, an impeachment manager in President Trump's first trial, says House prosecutors won't just be speaking to the senators serving as jurors.
A second and equally important audience is the American people.
A CBS News poll out this morning shows a majority of Americans, 56%, believe the Senate should convict former President Trump, but only 17% of Republicans agree. Natalie Brandt, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And finally, abandoned vehicles and white goods, some of the biggest eyesores you'll see as you stroll through Guam's streets. During the Guam Beautification Task Force monthly meeting, Guam EPA revealed the collection of abandoned vehicles has begun. Guam EPA Sabrina Sablon said they've received 69 invoices for vehicles that have been collected just within the past week. Guam EPA has been working with the Mayor's Council of Guam, which has provided lists of either already identified or estimated abandoned vehicles in their respective villages. Purchase orders were distributed to mayors, and residents are encouraged to contact them to address any abandoned vehicles. The next IBTF meeting will be held Tuesday, March 9th at 11 o'clock in the morning. And that is your news. Stay tuned for more on the link after the break.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by the Bank of Guam and KFC.
Half a day. Does your child have a hearing loss? We are parents of deaf and hard of hearing children and volunteers with Guam's Positive Parents Together, and we are here for you. We know how you feel and have walked in your shoes. We want to help you navigate your way through our educational and medical systems, and most especially, your emotional journey. Please visit us at www.guamparents.org for more information.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
We got your 6
at 6 a.m. with the link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between with KUAM Digital, we got your 6.
Half a day, my name is Zina Cruz Vecina, a registered nurse with the Department of Public Health and Social Services. COVID-19 continues to be a very real threat to Guam. Wearing an appropriate cloth face covering in public is a simple and important way you can protect yourself and others on our island. During a pandemic, no single action will stop the spread of the virus. Wash your hands often with soap and water, and stay 6 feet away from others. Prevention saves lives. For more information, please call 311 or check out our website at www.dphss.guam.gov.
If you plan on leaving your house, don't forget your face mask. Along with hand washing and social distancing, wearing face masks can drastically reduce your risk of infection. Many people who catch COVID-19 can be contagious before they even start showing symptoms. The more people who use face masks, the less the virus can be transmitted and fewer individuals are exposed. When we both wear face masks, I protect you, you protect me, and we are both safe.
Our frontliners have been working tirelessly to keep us safe, and now they need your help to get our island back up and running as safely as possible. Did you know your smartphone can be one of the most powerful tools in our fight against COVID-19? That's why we're bringing you the Guam COVID Alert Exposure Notification app. This app works by letting you know if you've been exposed to someone who's positive. It's completely voluntary, and more importantly, it's completely anonymous. It does not track who you are or your location. Researchers at Oxford University have found that for every 100 to 200 downloads of the app, it can prevent 100 infections and save one life. Add your phone to the COVID fight by going to guamcovidalert.guam.gov or download it from the App Store or Google Play now. Help Guam stop COVID-19.
When you shake up, lives and thoughts they never really knew they need to wake up. Realize that your word is really true, and then you take up on a journey that they never dreamed could exist in a place where the love is rarely seen, and then you break up all the hate and take the pain away so you can make up time that's lost to strife and hurtful days. No, you can't fake love. No, 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 no. But you can't overstand that the world needs a better way. Spread the love each and every day. Come together, let there be no stray. Deep inside the positive vibes, your staple guide. All of us is we live our life in the dark and throughout the night. Love and ganja always burning bright. The solution, green and fine, no matter, we don't need no prosecution. Let them be, and we can have ourselves a revolution of the life that everybody leads. The big, the rich, the small, the poor, just human equality, no more pollution. Green and lush, the earth as it should be. The contribution of every human helps to end the very prostitution of everything we know and love and need. So everywhere and every place is life in unity, because the world needs a better way. Spread the love each and every day. Come together, let there be no stray. Deep inside the positive vibes, your staple guide. All of us is we live our life in the dark and throughout the night.
Oh man, that's good stuff there. Love and Day, two of my favorite things. It's called Better Way, 656. Good morning.
Yep. There's a fair amount of chatter in our comment stream, which we always love. Remember, you were talking about like where Rev Tax has been like over the years. Like right now, it's in Barragata Heights. Prior to that, it was in Tizen. Prior to that, it has now been confirmed. Yes, it was down in Anigua. So we were right. Remember what Rev Tax was before it was Rev Tax now in Barragata Heights?
Price Costco.
Price Costco. You guys
For like
remember that?
a week.
I went there. I went there several. They had a great electronics department. I would pick up zip discs. Remember those, Joe, sir?
Oh yeah, wow.
I love the zip drive in it. But yeah, and then a bunch of people were saying Tax when it was in Tizen.
Zip drive. Wow, you just took me back.
Yeah, you used to put a lot of MP3s on that, right? Through Napster.
Yeah, there's you remember the Digicart?
Yep.
Right. Yeah. Remember Digicart, sir? Yeah.
Yeah. So
Man, I just got to say, when I first started in radio, it was 8-track reel-to-reel.
Wow.
And so me and Frankie Perez and John Sabars, we'd be messing around in the production room here, and it was like, you guys have no idea what I'm talking about. Google it.
I started with carts.
Yeah, so carts is basically a mini version of 8-track reel-to-reel.
8-track is way back.
And then
Yeah,
Joe Sir was saying
thanks.
when Joe Sir would make
8-track is way back.
and Joe Sir was saying when he would make mixtapes,
right,
you would actually literally splice the tapes, right? You would physically tape them together.
What was cool about the 8-track thing was you could lay, like, we would just mess around. You lay, like, a drum beat, like a boom, boom, and then you could do a track over that, and you'd be like, and then you would save, like, you'd always be like, hey, save 2 tracks for the vocals. But nowadays, it's all obviously very digital. So we are dinosaurs, but we are dinosaurs who survived the big asteroid that changed the whole landscape and technology of everything.
You know, people were talking about, like, again, with Reventax when it was in Tejan, they were saying that it was, remember how Reventax used to be? It was in that that one building, it was a rotunda. You would walk in there, and it was like a circular thing, so you'd walk in, and then if you needed to renew your car registration, it was on one part of the circle. It was all in the round. If you needed to do driver's license registration or car transfer or anything you could do, change your name because you got married and everything like that, it was all round. And then I was chatting with Glenn in our chat room. I was like, I remember that because when Tejan was still under control of the Navy, that used to be the ballroom, because I went to UOG's military ball when I was in ROTC, and it went there, and it was fantastic. And I remember my Uncle Jimmy, who was in the Navy, actually got married in that building. Remember that, where Reventax used to be the whole round thing? You walk in, it's like, okay, where do you need to be? And then the cashiers were like over in the side.
Right,
everything was all around you.
You remember when they had a wishing well at the airport?
That was the best.
Yeah.
Man,
Remember
I
that?
forgot about that.
Yeah.
And everybody, I mean,
Bring back wishing wells.
yeah. And these days, like, if you actually need to pay for your parking, dude, just go into the, I mean, there's at least like $1,000 in pennies. But remember that when the new airport went up, that was the only time we ever had to pay for parking, and that was a huge, like, culture shift for, like, living on Guam. It's like, wow, I have to pay to park now? And everybody in the States is like, yeah, this is, this is how things
This is
work.
kind of normal. Hey, we're KUAM FM. I got in Guam. It's 7 a.m. This is the link, which is brought to you by Carrier at 647 Cool, Cabo Enterprises, and IT&E. On this Wednesday, Hump Day. Coming up, William Cando, the Guam Memorial Hospital. Lillian Posadas, I think she's on leave still. So we're getting William. And then Monica Flores. What's this thing that the Hagan Familao and Guam's doing, Jay?
Yes, there's that.
You had me at corn soup and chilaquiles.
Yes, so I'm reading the article that our Lacey Martinez wrote. It's a great piece, so check it out. It's on KUM.com and our app for iOS and Android. Narratives to the Table is the event that's coming up with Desiree Timinglo Ventura and our friend Simone Bollinger. I haven't interviewed Simone in a while, so it's going to be good to hear from her. And they are talking about corn soup, chilaquiles. You know, Glenn's going to be watching this, and I believe is it a webinar series? I believe so. Yes, the first in a series of 3 webinar events talking about how women engage in our community and the unique gifts that they bring to the table. That's really going to be really, really cool. Part 1, I'm reading from the thing right now, highlights the archetypes and stereotypes of Chamorro women and the role of women throughout the Marianas as we proceed into the future. And of course, what they bring to the table, meaning, the very matriarchal approach of preparing food, serving food, using food as currency, which is a thing in our culture, like really, really awesome. But yeah, I can't wait to hear from Muñeca about this. This is going to be good. Specifically, chilaquiles and corn soup.
Yeah, that's great. 2 of my favorite things. Also, we're getting Superintendent John Fernandez. That was pretty interesting, Bria. There were a couple of students out of a GDOE that tested positive for the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to John. I don't know anything about it other than that. And then Speaker Therese Serlahi coming up this morning. We're doing Here's to Your Health with Jason Salas.
Yep, that's coming up when Dr. Kelly joins the Zoom room. We're going to talk about palliative care once again. Oops. Here we go, guys. We haven't done this in a while. Let's
There's a reason.
make sure everybody.
Yeah, because the car score's all the way up to 1.0.
Is that what it is, Nick?
Yeah.
Oh, I knew it was 0.8 the other. Here you go, Bree. All right, guys. Wipes up.
Wipes up, vaccine down.
Yeah.
Wow. You think they're trying to tell the senators something as they put them in they're getting the vaccine, but they're going like last, pretty much. I mean, I think all of Adelup got their vaccine before the senators did.
You know,
if I was those senators, I'd be like, wait a minute, you're trying to tell us something?
You know what's interesting is, I don't believe, right? They haven't said that either from Adelup or public health guys if there's a roadmap of which age demographics or what professions or anything like that will be in, right? Or
I don't know. I'm waiting for like the grocery workers.
no, exactly.
Right, yeah.
I mean, they said in the
gas
beginning it was going to be. I mean, they just
employees.
said kind of like healthcare workers, law enforcement professionals, and educators, but yeah, there's like gas station attendants, grocery store workers,
Right.
People in customer
They did
service.
funeral home workers,
Yeah.
educators, obviously mayors, law enforcement. So the mayors got theirs before the senators.
That was fantastic.
Well,
news.
come on now.
Yeah, because they're out there. I mean,
That was fantastic news when we heard about that. I was like, wow, man. Because what was it? It was just 2 days prior where Mayor's Council President Jesse Allig was actually saying, he's like, we still haven't got it.
Right. I don't know, Bree, though, from the conversation we had yesterday with Dr. Hoa and Dr. Felix, I mean, I don't want to raise any alarms, but it kind of seems like getting the number of vaccines that we need to achieve the governor's liberation herd immunity goal is going to be a problem.
Oh, well, they're optimistic that the CDC will bump up the number of vaccines that we're receiving. That Johnson & Johnson will be approved. What was the number? We need to at least get 40,000 or something like that. More doses.
Yeah.
Because the statistics show that per capita we are
Kicking ass.
right.
Yeah.
I think during the oversight hearing we're like number 2
Right.
in the country.
But I wonder on the Fed side if they're going to look at that and they're going to be like, oh, they're good already in Guam. We need to get these other places to get on track. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, just to kind of like.
Yeah, because
For
we're
parity, yeah, that's
operating under the premise that, if they see how good we're doing, we're just going to get more. And that way we can just get herd immunity because they're going to love how we're doing so good. But on the flip side of it, maybe they could also be like, oh, you guys have vaccinated a lot of people. We need to spread it around a little more. I mean, I don't know. Movie theaters are open, though.
And they're serving food.
But did you go to the movies this weekend?
And they are serving food. No, I didn't, but they were very happy. I don't even know what the hell happened with that whole cluster mess.
Actually, they were not supposed to be serving food in the executive order when it was released about a month ago, right? And no food.
Right.
But I guess, they didn't know. And so when they made all their announcements the day before, they were told, you're not supposed to serve food. And then I don't know how that changed so fast that they were allowed.
And that was late Friday afternoon we got the word, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I know Ken, who runs our social media, he was like, oh man, because we had some social media stuff up on Instagram telling people, okay, the theaters are open, but here's what you need to know: food is not available. And then he had to scramble and put something here that said, yes, food is okay now.
Yeah. How did it happen so fast? So they realized it was stupid. That's what it was. Someone at Adelup was like, "Oh, this is dumb." Even they were like, "Oh my God, how can we let restaurants sell food and do all these other things, and we're not going to let the movie theaters do concessions?" Who thought of this?
And like you said, kind of like the business model for theaters is that if you're selling tickets but you're not selling concessions, you're operating at a pretty substantial
I mean,
loss.
but that's not really. I mean, and I love Tango. They're my buddies, but that's not like our problem. The main. It shouldn't be like, oh, we need to sell food because that's how we make. It should just be like, hey, if everyone's selling food, we should be able to sell food too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We had some comments here. Rosemarie LaGuardia writes, the governor's goal of July 21st for herd immunity is unrealistic. But you know what? It's cute. It's cute because it's liberate Guam.
Operation
I see it's a
Liberate
marketing
Guam.
thing that they're doing, right? They're going to do probably come out with some T-shirts or something. Wow, Debbie Davis over in American States says, I'm still waiting to get vaccinated. I'm on a list, even though I'm stage 4 kidney They said it could be a month or so, Jason Solis. So, yeah, I mean, as much as we like to criticize and harp, I mean, validly, and it's very justified. There's so many things going on that you can criticize. The one area where we seem to be doing good is on the vaccinations.
Mm-hmm. People are really stepping up.
Because people want to get vaccinated. That's the thing. And I don't know if public health anticipated how many people wanted to get vaccinated. Because we haven't seen that crazy, like, anti-vax talk here. So, I mean, I guess it's a blessing.
And so we know that when public health made it 75 and older, even Dr. Felix had to run the numbers, 3 times when he was here on a show. And he goes, wow, I'm just blown away that 82% of the 75 and older crowd have now gotten vaccinated. But the 60 and older crowd, they weren't as proactive in coming out, right?
55 and up.
Yeah, less so. And then they extended it to 55 and up and everything.
Right.
So we'll see how that one goes, right? I wonder how much younger they're going to make it after they say, okay, the 55 is either they're not coming out as much.
I feel like they're really struggling to hold the order and who gets vaccinated down, because once we found out that people outside of the categories were getting the vaccine, I think everyone was like, oh, screw that. If no one's playing by the rules, I'm going to do what I got to do to get the vaccine. We heard, and it was on this show where it was revealed that at the different vaccination clinics, whether it be Ukuru or University of Guam or even Southern Public Health, they get X amount of vaccines for a day. If they don't use those vaccines, basically, they go to waste. So guess what? On Guam, we don't waste, man. We'll put that in a container, stick it in the freezer, eat it a year later. Yeah, so what happened was people who were kind of hanging around these vaccination clinics were like, hey, do you have any left over? And they'd be like, yeah, come on, we'll shoot you up, man. And so that's what happened. It happened in Rahan, and I know personally that it did because I have friends who went and got vaccinated, and they weren't even in any of the categories. It happened at Ukuru. We know this because Dr. Cabrera confirmed it.
And Dr. Cabrera said the worst thing to do from a public health standpoint would be to throw away perfectly good vaccine.
But on the other side of it is if we were giving away vaccines outside of the rules and regs that they came up with, and the average Joe in Oseva Cruz didn't know about it, that's just not right. It's not right, really. And I didn't, and I get what Dr. Cabrera was saying, but also thought it was a little bit of a spin move to say like, oh, well, we could be talking about wasting vaccines. Well, let's just go back. We could have alerted people that there was an opportunity for them to get vaccinated, or it could have been more orderly, and you guys could have maybe had an idea that there would be vaccine left over. And
you're registering online now, so I would think you'd be able to kind of track the appointments and things like that, and then they reserve X amount every hour for walk-ins.
And you guys must admit, remember the days when I want to say maybe around like last July when they would have the first testing facilities up at the Jigo gym, and I went up there once just to go take some pictures. I know Bree went up there. Just how insanely long those lines were, and people wanted to get. This is coming off of the 31 airmen that found to be had tested positive, and that's when everybody came out because everyone was like, "Oh man, this is really really serious." But and it was 6-hour events, and they were finding out that they just ran out of tests and everything like that.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, but it wouldn't even be unheard of if what happened was they used these leftover vaccines to like vaccinate their people. I mean, that's what people are saying out here, and that's why I think on the clinic end they were probably hit with a demand from patients. Hey, can I get the vaccine? Hey, can I get the vaccine? And now we're in this place where the clinics are saying we're not getting the vaccines that we need. We had Dr. Ho on yesterday, Bree.
Right. Well, they just added a whole bunch of private clinics and pharmacies to the list where eligible individuals can be vaccinated. So I think we'll post that list if we haven't.
It's like 19 clinics, I think.
There's a lot.
Right. Yeah. So I wonder at the clinic level if they get people who want to go and don't fit in these different guidelines. How's that going to work? Oh, we'll see.
If they have leftover, they also, no one can waste these vaccines.
Right, yeah. So public health can't waste it and the clinic can't waste it.
Yeah, can't.
So it is what it is. I'm just going to say what I said back when Dr. Cabrera said, well, would you rather have us waste the vaccine? Go and get yours. You know, in the words of Dr. Hoa, that's the people's vaccine. All right, and if we already know that people are kind of jumping in the line and moving all around because of the logistical way that they organize these clinics, which I'm not even hating on it because obviously it's working, just go get yours. All right, 7:12. We'll take a break. Wednesday, February 10th on the link. Good morning.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by the Bank of Guam and KFC.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Half a day. Does your child have a hearing loss? We are parents of deaf and hard of hearing children and volunteers with Guam's Positive Parents Together. And we are here for you. We know how you feel and have walked in your shoes. We want to help you navigate your way through our educational and medical systems, and most especially, your emotional journey. Please visit us at www.guamparents.org for more information.
These are some of the signs that someone is thinking about suicide. Talking about wanting to die, excessive guilt or shame, and feeling like a burden to others. Feeling empty, hopeless, trapped, or having no reason to live. Feeling extremely sad, anxious, agitated, or full of rage with unbearable emotional or physical pain. Other signs include changing behavior, such as making a plan or researching ways to die, withdrawing from friends or saying goodbye, giving away important items or making a will, taking dangerous risks such as driving extremely fast, displaying extreme mood swings, eating or sleeping more or less, and using drugs or alcohol more often. If you or someone you know is showing these warning signs, get help as soon as possible. Call Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center's crisis hotline at 647-8833 or 4.
Half a day. My name is Chimamba Kwem, Tuberculosis Enhancing Disease Program Manager for the Department of Public Health. As Guam continues to deliver critical services during this unprecedented time, we must do everything in our power to protect the health and safety of our people. Continue to encourage wearing a face covering, practice social distancing and washing hands. These practices are becoming especially important as we begin to reopen our great island. Prevention saves life. For more information, please call 311 or check out our website at dphss.guam.gov.
We got your 6.
At 6 a.m. with the link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between with KUAM Digital, we got your 6.
Para escuela, ukagatsiao neni nile plomo. Tafata todwi mangatso, zanofanu hi hoti pagu bairi. Siki mona gitarera, ogu neni mazagu giluton. Matinuma Gradua was a Timonia Loquinuma Sagua. Don't stress what you not bought good. So my money in a lot that you looked on me. Now, Bobunani by song and now Bobunani Queen Eyes and Corazon Room. Corazon Room.
Hey, good morning. Easy Jams. That's Eric Wara, Joe Garrido right there.
I was gonna say I could pick out
Joe Garrido.
Yep. I could also pick out Eric's guitar tone anywhere now because I've said before I really like Eric's guitar tone as a guitar player. It's very dirty and that's a high
reminds me of like the '60s style.
Yeah.
Right. Like the jangly birds, the birds.
Yeah. It's really there's some effects on it and everything like that, but it really comes across really well. But the Cover Me artist we have here, Chris,
right?
Isabel today. This is actually none of that. I mean, she's got her own guitar tone, but she's not using any effects, any processing. I mean, the signal path is very clean. It's just a girl and her electric guitar, and she's just playing fingerstyle, and it's really cool.
Oh, here we go. It's Cover Me for this morning, brought to you by Burger King, where Chicken Fries Friday is back. I love BK Chicken Fries. It's Cover Me with Isabel. Good morning.
I miss you on your side of the bed. I still catch your things here. They stare at me like souvenirs. I don't want to let you out my head. Just like the day that I met you, day I thought forever. You said that you love me, that'll last forever. It's cold outside, like when you walked down my life. Why did you walk on my life? 'Cause I get like this every time. On these days I feel like you and me. Heartbreak anniversary. 'Cause I get like this every time. On these days I feel like you and me. Heartbreak anniversary. Do you ever think of me?
Short and sweet.
Short and sweet. I told you that was really cool.
Yeah, good stuff there, Isabel. That's BK Burger King. Cover Me.
Okay, we talked about alternate guitar tunings on this show, right?
Have we? I don't even know what that is.
Have you ever messed around with like different guitar tunings?
I tune
that
it
you've played?
the way it is.
Or you're just standard tuning.
The basic.
A440.
I'm a
all the way?
basic bro on guitar.
I remember when I believe it was Eddie Van Halen who came up with like the drop D tuning, which completely changed rock music. Everybody was using it. It became very popular with like a lot of like early '90s heavy metal, like a lot of the grunge people that were playing back then used that. But it's really cool. I mean, it adds a different dimension, and I want to say Isabella may have been using drop D. It sounded like that. It like kind of like a little bit of those more dissonant tones.
Hey, Burger King.
Super cool though. But you know what? Speaking of Cover Me, we want to feature you guys. If you are an artist, and again, we've had interpretive dance, we've had poets, we've had people playing acoustic, we've had people do full-on production music videos. It's all super cool. It's just you showing your gift, sharing it with the world, and we're happy to play it. If you want to feature your Cover Me artist right here on the show, all you got to do is just DM us. We're at KUM News across social media. Hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, of course, as you're watching this right now. And just let us know, and let us know where either we can download a video of you or your loved one performing. If you want to feature somebody else, maybe in your town.
In your town?
Yeah, even if you're not from Guam. I mean, you know, we got a lot of friends in the mainland right now that watch the show. And if you got somebody that's
You want to feature someone in your borough.
if you're in one of the 5 boroughs, if you're in New York. But yeah, just let us know, because, you know, we will be happy to feature you guys. And you know what? Actually, the library that we've got, we're starting to run a little bit thin. So we need some more performances. So let us know. Or if you don't have something right now, set up your camera. Be like Sabrina, set up a ring light, set up like a nice tripod and everything like that. Jam something out, man. We'll play it.
We had some comments here about the vaccine, guys. Talking about the leftovers, Mona Cruz writes, it's the same stateside. My brother lives in Washington State and lined up to wait for any extra 2. He and his wife were able to get it, and they weren't eligible based on the criteria. She writes, Seattle University also had a refrigerator breakdown.
Ooh.
And made an announcement for people to come ASAP for a shot. About 1,600 vaccines were given to anyone who came to line up, regardless of the demographic, because they didn't want to waste it.
And you know, there are a lot of Guamanians that go to Seattle U. There's a lot. They come out here, or they did, like, and they have recruiting trips. So there's a lot of Guamanians, particularly Chamorros, who go to Seattle U.
When is the vaccine clinic, Bree?
This week, it's at UOG Calvo Fieldhouse. You got to make an appointment. They do have. Wait, let me just pull it up.
50 per hour, right?
Right, but they're prioritizing dose 2. If you're due for dose 2, that's the priority for now. But they do have 50. Pfizer first doses will be limited to 50 per hour for eligible individuals. No first doses of the Moderna vaccine will be administered. So again, go online, check what's available, and make an appointment.
Book your ticket at Eventbrite.
Right, but also check your private clinic and pharmacies. If you fit into any of those categories. Adult Health Clinic, AMC locations in Okamingilau and Tumon, the Cancer Center of Guam, FHP, Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center, GMH, GRMC, SDA, the Hagatnya Med Clinic, HSP, IHP, Rexall Drugs, the Doctor's Clinic, Tumon Medical Office, and United Family Clinic.
And I got a tech tip for people that, as Dr. Kelly's joining us right now. Okay, so for people that have never used the QR codes before, this is a great opportunity to get yourself doing that. Some people have DM'd me and they were like, you know, how do I actually use this? Because I want to try and book my appointment. If you have an iPhone, all you have to do is just open your camera app, point it at the QR code, and it will automatically bring up the page direction, the Eventbrite page, and then it'll send you right over there. If you're on an Android, pretty much the same thing. You can just use Google Lens, and it will actually scan the QR code and take you to the Eventbrite page. It's super easy and one-stop shopping.
All right. On the way, Speaker Therese Terlahi here on the link. It's Wednesday, February 10th. But first, we'll jump in with Jason Solis. This is a sponsored segment. It's called Here's to Your Health. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Jason Solis. Good morning, Jason.
Thanks for that, Chris. And good morning to our friend Dr. Kelly Neal, who is joining us from American Medical Center. Doctor, half a day and good morning. So good to see you. All right. And yep, hey, can you bring it up? Okay, so I know this morning we are going to talk about, I was emailing you back and forth, and you were good enough to want to talk about palliative care. And I know because when my father was still around, he was a recipient of palliative care, and as one of his caregivers, it was a real educational experience for me to know exactly what that is, what my scope of responsibility is, what resources are out there for people that are in need of palliative care, and maybe more importantly, how palliative care very often gets confused for hospice care. Is that something you find in your profession that a lot of people get backwards or kind of misunderstand?
Oh, absolutely. The lines are blurred all the time. So why don't we start with this? Why don't you tell me what your experience was?
Yes, doctor. as a good medical practitioner,
just start with that one.
exactly. Well, as a proper medical practitioner, you got to get a good sense of the patient's case, I guess. Well, so my father had a variety of things that he was dealing with, primarily diabetes. And then when it became clear that he was in a renal failure, he was fortunate enough to have a very good social worker who said, okay, well, here's some reading material that you can do. And he also had copies of the reading material for my dad and then for my mom and I, who were his primary caregivers. And then we learned as the months and then ultimately 3 years went by and everything like that, what type of resources there are that private industry provides, that the government provides, that programs like Medicare and Medicaid provide. But then also, like I said, like what my responsibility was as far as doing day-to-day stuff, and then if we would need training or a nurse to come out and everything like that. And then I know, because we've interviewed social workers who set people up for hospice care, I actually thought palliative care, I just thought it was something that I personally would have to do and that I would have to get trained in, as far as, administering his daily meds, maybe taking blood sugar, blood pressure and all those things and everything like that. But it was a huge educational experience for me. And I would hope that other people would be able to get the kind of education that I did, because it was certainly very, very advantageous too.
Correct. To be honest, are you sure that actually wasn't hospice care?
No, they actually qualified it as palliative. I mean, he was my dad was bedridden at one point. Yeah, but they said it wasn't hospice. He was still going.
Said it wasn't hospice.
Yeah, he was still going to get dialysis 3 times a week.
Okay. So the question is what is the difference between hospice care and palliative care?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once an individual has a chronic condition, and we know that it's not curable. Okay, we're not talking pregnancy here. We're not talking hypertension. We're not talking diabetes. Those things can actually be cured. Okay, so we can, do a lot of things with obesity. We can do a lot of things with hypertension. But when you have end-stage renal failure, we're pretty much, we have a lot of work to do. So we're dealing with the psychosocial, we're dealing with the family, we're dealing with a condition that we're not necessarily going to get out of. We're looking at end-stage renal failure. We're looking at congestive heart failure. We're looking at COPD. These are conditions that we're not going to get out of. So kind of what can we do as providers to bring the family involved, to bring the medical team involved, that involves even the providers, psychosocial, to everything, to a one stop to help the family and the patient deal with the condition. That is palliative care. And it's a beautiful thing to bring all of those resources. Once there is a condition that it's terminal, meaning we have less than 6 months, none of us can predict the weather. I can't predict the weather. We certainly can't predict it here. Once there is a condition that is less than 6 months to live, then there's a walk across the bridge. Then we go from palliative care to hospice care. Then there's no element of curative. Then we goes to hospice. That is the difference from palliative to hospice.
Yeah, and I just found out that, like, when I was actually very surprised at how integrated, let's say, that the program was. Yes, because they said, okay, as his primary caretaker, we're relying on you to perform a certain number of very, very low level, let's just say medical transactions, right? Like, again, administering meds, making sure that elements of hygiene were maintained and everything like that, and obviously keeping his spirits high. But then I wasn't expecting how hands-on the medical professionals would be too. And they were like, they call all the time and just say, how are you guys doing? Are you guys okay? Do you have any? They'd constantly ask me, do you have any questions? And they would also ask me about my state of being, and they were like, are you okay? Like, are you feeling all stressed out and everything like that? Because, and I kind of liken it, Dr. Kelly, to, how like when you go on a plane and you take that flight, I've always thought it was really odd how the flight attendants always say, okay, well, if in the case the cabin pressure goes low and you're a parent, you want to pull down the pressurized mask and make sure that you mask yourself first and then mask your kids. And I never understood that until it was explained to me by my dad, ironically. And he said, well, because if you're an adult, you want to make sure that you're okay, because if you mask your kid and then you're not okay, then you've got two people who are in real big trouble. So the palliative care, the social worker was always asking me, are you all right? Are you okay? Do you need to take a break? Are you making sure that you at least go out for a walk and make sure that you're all right?
Correct, because you're getting what they call respite. So if you're not healthy, you're not going to be of any help to them, and that's the priority, is that patient. But you're the integral part of that team. So they deal with the psychosocial, they deal with the theological element too. That's what's the spiritual element, what's the financial element, what's the resources that you have, how are their pain element, that holistic, I know that's kind of a big buzzword, but what's the holistic element of that family unit to better take care of mom or dad? Okay, so it's real integral. That is palliative care. And we didn't really necessarily have it until probably the 1970s.
That I did not know. So this were things considered, a terminal case is a terminal case is a terminal case up until that point, or
scattered? I think the better word, it was really scattered.
Okay.
It was like nobody knew who was running the ship.
Okay, you just know you have someone who's in need, someone who's very, very sick, and someone needs to take care of them. Stat.
Yeah, and what they're trying to do is to bring it back so that the patient's the centric. Okay, the family is then the next sphere. Okay, we deal with the pain, we deal with the psychosocial, we'll deal with, because again, unfortunately, that condition is not going to go away. So when you said initially in let's take your situation, your family situation, the end-stage renal failure, unfortunately, that's not going to go away. So these are conditions that are not going to they're not going to go away.
And you know
so
what?
They'll get
And looking back on it, I actually appreciate, kind of like the candor that you just expressed. And, because my social worker and the nurses that I was very, very fortunate to work with, they were very frank. And they were like, they said, okay, let me tell you, the honest truth and everything like that. This is going to be hard on you. And, he's not going to get better. And you need to realize that. You need to prepare yourself. And then you got to get to work. Your mission is to, and they said the very definition, I believe, right, of palliative care is to minimize suffering and reduce the discomfort that the patient's going through.
Correct. Because there is going to be suffering. So what do we need to do to minimize it? As you said, frankly, because if we don't talk about the pink elephant in the room, when are we going to crack the nut and take care of it?
Right.
We can't shuffle it underneath the rug. And the patient, your family member, knows about it. And if we don't talk about it, it's just going to increase their anxiety. So-and-so is going to know about it, or another family member, and it's not going to help the situation.
Exactly. And I think if I was younger, maybe, I was fortunate that, my dad went through that when I was already in my late 30s and 40s. If I was maybe in my teenage years, I probably would have copped the attitude of just like, oh, because, my dad for the term of my life, like most sons, my dad's Superman to me. I was like, he's going to get over this. He's going to be able to beat this. But the medical professionals actually addressing me and being very truthful about it and everything like that, that actually gave me the education, but more importantly, the strength to actually do what I needed to do.
Yeah.
And I greatly appreciated that.
Yeah. And it, as unfortunately or fortunately, it was a bridge to then allow what I always call a peaceful passing. It should be a beautiful passing, not one that has a lot of anxiety, not one that all of a sudden was a surprise, not one that is filled with, no, is there going to be grief? Yeah, there's going to be grief, but not one that is going to smack like a train, and not going to be one that's not going to be prepared for.
Right. Well, my final question, Dr. Kelly, is in the time that you've been on Guam, since we talked about palliative care, hospice care, and terminal care, in your view and what you've seen from the patients here on island, where do most patients, or where do the majority of the patients, I should say, fall between those three classifications? Are we more palliative? Or are we more hospice?
We're more palliative.
Okay.
On that note, though, I think we have a long way to go. I think we put patients in hospice way too late. I think we need to enroll them a lot sooner. I mean, I think also we have a lot more education to the patients. I think the patients feel like once we enroll into hospice, we're building a pine box in the backyard. It's like, wait a minute, that's not what we're doing. We have a lot more of education in the patients. We can enroll a patient into hospice 6 months before there's an imminent demise. I mean, what we're doing is we're enrolling them in hospice up 2 or 3 weeks before the demise, and that's way, way too late. There's a lot of tapped resources that these patients can benefit from, and they don't have the time to benefit from them. Does that make sense?
Yes, no, absolutely. Yeah.
So many resources. I mean, Catholic Social Services has programs that we can bring for at least 4 hours into the family just for respite care. What I mean by respite care is, let's say the wife needs to go grocery shopping or do just whatever she needs to do, but she's too busy taking care of the husband because she can't leave the husband alone, or vice versa. There's so many resources that are there for them, and they can't be tapped into because they don't know about it. So just talk to your provider to get those resources. The education needs to be out there more, so they need to be tapped into hospice a lot sooner, or to palliative care. And they're just being signed up way too late. Plus, even if there was the demise, Medicare will pay for grief counseling at least a year afterwards, and that's for everyone in the family. And we all know the family is quite large. So there's just a lot more out there.
Well, I consider myself very, very fortunate that I was the recipient of a lot of the education that the Guam system provides and everything like that. So thank you very much for everything that you do for those of us who have that responsibility that we have to go through. And we thank you for your time as always on Tuesday, and we look forward to seeing you next week once more.
Is it? I thought it was Wednesday. Okay.
Well, Tuesday, Wednesday. We appreciate the information you're giving to us. We'll be flexible because you always give us good stuff. So we do appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
You too. You're welcome.
All right.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. And the link will continue, and we've got the Speaker of the Legislature in the Zoom room, and she is coming up right after this.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city, featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by the Bank of Guam and KFC.
Half a day. Does your child have a hearing loss? We are parents of deaf and hard of hearing children and volunteers with Guam's Positive Parents Together, and we are here for you. We know how you feel and have walked in your shoes. We want to help you navigate your way through our educational and medical systems, and most especially, your emotional journey. Please visit us at www.guamparents.org for more information.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
We got your 6
at 6 a.m. with the link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between with KUAM Digital, we got your 6.
Here on Breeze 93.9 FM.
doesn't mean that you're not on my mind all the time, baby. And when I'm surfing up on the North Shore, know it's you that I'm longing for. All I can do is think of you. With you I adore, I need you more. My love, my love, my love. Why do you wanna go so far away? My heart won't let you go, oh no. My love, my love, my love. Why do you wanna go so far away? My heart won't let you go, oh no. In every season, you say there's a reason why you can't be by my side. But I don't understand just how you could stay away for so long from sweet Hawaii. My love, my love, my love. Why do you wanna go so far away?
Good stuff. Serena and Paige
My heart won't let you go.
going way back, deep into the Live Local Fridays archives. Hey, 744, it's The Link, Wednesday, February 10th. We'll just go right into the KUAM News Zoom room where she comes on with us every other Wednesday for our legislative update from the Speaker's office, Speaker Theresa Lahi. Good morning, Madam Speaker.
Good morning, Chris. Good morning, Sabrina. Good morning, Jason. Good morning, all those who are listening. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Well, busy week. I guess we'll start with the public health oversight hearing. There was a lot of information that came out of that hearing. I mean, that was probably like a week's worth of newscasts.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I was surprised we actually got some information that you had not already broadcast, because you guys are doing a really good job of getting that information on a daily basis. So yes, I was very glad to hear the very concrete vaccination plans and priorities, because prior to that they had just been so vague, or they seem to be changing every day. And so I'm just glad to see they have a long-term, a little bit of a long, not a super long-term, but at least a short-term plan, and that we got our priorities straight, hopefully, in there. And I thought public health did a great presentation as to, we're seeing the improvements at the vaccination sites. And I'm especially pleased that they, are getting the homebound taken care of. They are getting their caretakers taken care of. I thought it was an excellent decision on their part to expand that to caretakers, and that they are getting to those areas of where seniors live. So there are some housing areas where it's mostly seniors, and those with disabilities, and so they are actually going out to those areas as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dr. Cabrera was on yesterday, and I asked him, I think I did, I can't remember because there was a lot of information. Maybe you can tell me what specifically was said. I think it was Annette Uggan, who was talking about there may be some clinics held in the villages this week. Agate, I think she said, and there was another village.
Yeah, I think when the teams go out to do homebound in a certain village, they do it village by village. So when they're out in that village, they may, not always, but they may open up a mini pod site at senior center in that village for those who are mobile and can get there. They can come there to get their second shots, anyone. And so it's up to the mayors, of course, to notify everyone. Otherwise, they're kind of working out of that village. So they just set up a second team to do it in a senior center. And then while the mobile team's going to the homes, home by one house at a time.
Mm-hmm. And there was also talk about money, right? Was it $11 million that they got in federal assistance is it for the vaccination program exclusively?
Some. So I don't know all the amounts, but definitely they got some for testing. And we, even last year, they got some for testing, particularly to expand that. And they've got it, now again with the additional relief funds they've got for vaccinations and testing. Mm-hmm. These are programs they're supposed to, set up as quickly as possible. And I'm hoping that they were able to expand the personnel that they use so that we're not using the same people over and over. So I thought one of their strategies for that was to convert testing so that not the nurses don't necessarily have to do testing with these types of kits, and so that they can have other people do the testing and let the nurses stick with the vaccination and the other programs.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything, I guess, from that oversight hearing that you felt public health needed to improve upon? Because, I mean, we did hear a lot about their response. What they have, like some 200 people from public health working this COVID response, from the clinics to the testing to the homebound vaccination, the quarantine facility, isolation facility. Was there anything there that kind of stood out for you that was a little bit of a concern?
Well, I'm just concerned, and I think they are also concerned, but we have to, remember that everybody who's taken away from a regular duty of theirs at public health or social services is concerning, right? Mm-hmm. Because those needs are their health needs in the community or social services needs in the community, and we don't want to take away from those. So I'm hoping that's temporary, but that they're also, just keeping a very good eye on whether those services are still being covered. And so I don't want to create another problem on the other end, right, from neglect or from not paying attention to the areas that they were supposed to be doing all along. Mm-hmm. So that's why I ask about, sharing responsibilities amongst all the different staff at public health, because that is my concern. But I'm, the director is aware of that, and so I'm hoping they're just keeping a very close eye. Mm-hmm. The other thing, of course, is that we didn't get full answers yet on the personnel issues, the complaints that have been raised regarding personnel at the quarantine facilities. But I'm expecting that. I'm trying to remember what today is. Today's Wednesday. If I don't get that by this week, it should come in first thing next week. And but in the interim, they've assured me they've rearranged so that the allegations cannot happen again. So we've got additional oversight of who's doing what over there and who's responsible for what, just a little bit more checks and balances.
Yeah, we had Director St. Augustine come on last week, and then he had also confirmed with us that they changed the line of, what did he call it? Line of supervision?
Yeah, line of supervision.
Right, yeah. To address some of the allegations in the complaint. Speaker, were there any areas of concern with you regarding the discussion that was had about the vaccination supply and the restocking of the vaccination supply, and also maybe the critical service workers and the quarantine exemptions?
Yes, I was trying to pin them down on critical service workers, who those really are and kind of how critical are all those different categories, because those are the exemptions to quarantine. So yes, I'm concerned with every exemption to quarantine if the statistics are showing us that they are finding positive cases in quarantine, and we're finding positive cases that were exempt from quarantine, right? So of course, very concerning. I want to make sure, if our levels are low in the community, then we should be able to trace every single case, and we should be able to find out, where is this coming from? Why is it still spreading? Why is it not stopped? And so I'm afraid, I don't want it to be the reason that it's because of the exemptions that we're allowing in quarantine. Mm-hmm. So I just think public health has to re-examine those, really narrow it down to people who absolutely have to get out of quarantine, immediately. And that they are sticking true to their word about testing these people promptly, so that we can stop the spread. And then, of course, if they are positive, then tracing that, they can't slack off on that. And, I'm worried that, we're all moving along, and I hope that's not the case. So that's why I question them about those things. So critical service workers, and what was the other one you said?
Vaccination supply.
Oh, the supply. Yeah. Well, I think, the way it's been reported to me is the supply, they request supply, it comes in, it's at this kind of set amount. They've, of course, requested for more. And I'm hoping we're going to hear early March whether we're going to be receiving more. The governor seems very confident when I talked to her that we will receive more, very confident. So I hope that that's the case, that, it's got to do with the new Biden administration. They've increased production so that we can receive more.
Right.
But I hope that's the case because I want to get to this goal. That's one thing I think we're united on is I really want to get to that goal of 70% at least of our community by July vaccinated.
And like you said, that is improving the allocations for Guam is absolutely critical because if we don't, I think it was Dr. Cabrera said, then we wouldn't be able to achieve herd immunity until the end of the year.
We won't be able to get 70%, but we will. I think with the current levels, the way it was shown to me, we would be able to reach at least 60% by July with the current kind of amounts that we are receiving. So that's still very good, and I would just stay on track. And I want to make sure, of course, that there was talk about second doses being held to make sure that everybody gets their first dose. But I confirmed with them that they were going to run that by their committee. It was not going to be a single person's decision, and that this committee is composed of this. It's a vaccination prioritization committee is composed of doctors from the hospital, public health, of course, doctors in the community, the medical licensing board. So I hope that they're all looking out for all of our best interests. And I know that there are many people who, especially the elderly, when they get their first vaccination, they want to complete it. They do not want to be put on hold for that second vaccination. I think that would decrease the morale, right? Of how they've been so motivated to go get this done.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was interesting when and we talked about this so much yesterday, when they first came out with the vaccination effort and they were really firm on, you got to get the second shot, X amount of days. And then now it's like they're saying, oh, yeah, you can get it up to 42 days later.
Yeah. I wanted to follow.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on what you mentioned. I think you were the one who mentioned it during the oversight hearing about the isolation facility being moved from Bayview to another location. Do you have any more information about that?
Oh, yes, I got that from a press release and it named the location. So Sabrina, I'm sorry, I don't have that in front of me, but I'll forward that to you. I'm trying to remember. It's a smaller place.
Was it Garden Court?
Yeah. I think so, yes, that's the one. Okay. Yes.
And is that the one that's across Daiichi?
That I don't know.
Oh.
If it is, I think that was Garden Villa, but I don't know. If I don't know where this is, I'm going to find out. But I hope I hope we're not going to find the same issues that we were finding at the other facility. It's very frustrating to have to hear these complaints from the people who are being put there, especially an isolation facility means you have COVID. Of course, health is should be the number one concern, cleanliness. Those are, absolutely critical. And I hate it when we have to hear the complaints from those who are being put there, as opposed to those who are in charge, making sure that that's not an issue, right?
Did we get any dollar figures on how much we've spent so far on the government quarantine facility or the isolation facility?
Yes, I think we do have figures for those things. I don't have those in front of me, but we do have figures because I know that they are submitting these for reimbursement by FEMA recently. Right. Yes. So.
Speaker, do you know offhand how many people on average are in the isolation facilities?
Average? No, I'm sorry. I don't know that information. How many on average?
Curious, because it seems like part of the problem is that we get a big hotel and then, so the people in isolation, they're COVID positive, but they're at a level where they don't require any intense medical treatment, right?
Right.
So I'm just wondering if hospitalizations are down. Do we need to kind of maybe look at the SNF in Barragata Heights if we're concerned about cleanliness and all that?
Oh, that's a great idea. Yeah, they supposedly, right, that was the original purpose of that site. Right. And it's gone all the way around in a circle, I think, as to what they were going to use it for. So I'm not even going to try to pretend I know exactly what they're going to use it for now. I know that they were working very recently, maybe just 2 weeks ago, on another fix to the chillers or the coolers, the aircon. And then and that they have upgraded that facility quite a bit to allow for critical care. So it's actually it's well beyond. It could be used for many different things, Chris. I think at this point.
Yeah, I think Mr. Kando, the last time he was on, was talking about all these renovations that they're doing up at the SNF, SNU, and possibly even moving back the patients that were in that facility, but since the COVID were moved to Catholic Social Services without a contract. So, I mean, is that something, I don't know why the AG's office, they said that, the contract wasn't approved or it's held up at the AG's office, but all those patients are, I don't even know if they're still there at Catholic Social Services in Barragata Heights. Does that kind of concern you that there's no contract in place for that?
Of course. I mean, the whole procurement during this pandemic, I think, is concerning. But we just got to flush that all out. It's they're aware of it, so that's less concerning to me. It's the ones that we're not hearing about that they're still of concern. That one, I guess, is on the table. AG's aware, so they need to find a solution. Yeah.
Speaker, when you were your line of questioning about the critical service workers, and then I think you also were discussing a little bit the variant, right? And it had come up in the discussion that if Guam were to reach levels that we had in the second surge, that we wouldn't be able to secure travel nurses or DOD doctors or any type of outside help, because those resources are now being committed to COVID outbreaks stateside. So, that being said, when we talk about exemptions and we just talk about the follow-up that goes on when we send people home to quarantine, because every time we ask public health how they do with policing people who are on home quarantine, they say they're doing great, but everybody I know who has been in home quarantine hasn't even got a phone call from them. So I don't even know what is really accurate. But anyway, just to wrap it all up here, with the variant out there, how important is it that we shore up all of these gaps and shortcomings to prevent what Dr. Cabrera said yesterday would be twice as bad as the second surge if the variant were to catch on Guam and spread?
You're right. I mean, we are months into this already, a year into this. It's too late to continue to talk about we need to shore up. They promised to shore up. They should have shored up. They received money to shore up tracing, monitoring, quarantine, even isolation at home, all of it. So you're right. I mean, Chris, I hear the same stories. I hear different stories from everybody. I even have family who's been in and out of quarantine, and this is, it's very funny almost. I mean, it's not funny because it's, you hear from public health, no, they're absolutely monitoring them on a daily basis, once a day. But that's not at all what I see from people who are actually experiencing it. So there is a gap. Again, there's another gap. It continues. It's continued for months. And that's why I'm afraid that our cases, even though they're so low, that they linger, right? You would think they're so low that we could catch that, we could trace that, and we could lock that down. But they continue to linger and evade us. And that shouldn't be the case at this point in the game, I think. We're isolated.
And I think it was Patrick Lucis, right, from Public Health, who had mentioned when you guys were talking about the critical service workers and the changes that Public Health is working on regarding that exemption. So Patrick Lucis was on, and he said they had a travel quarantine team, I believe, and they do their daily checks, their daily calls, and I think it was Chima who said they hadn't found anybody that I think was violating or had tested positive that were on home quarantine for this exemption.
Yeah, but we just reported that we had the 2 guard members who Right. Yeah. Right. So I mean, I would at that point. I feel like they didn't watch KUAM. Maybe they didn't get the memo.
Yeah. That, or don't forget, Sabrina, that this travel quarantine or critical service worker quarantine is actually, you get to go to work.
Yeah.
So I think it's very hard to monitor at that point.
Mm-hmm.
We always hear these stories about people coming into these like coming back from work into the military facilities, for example, with bags of groceries or food or whatever. And I just, to me, that just sounds like unenforceable a little bit, you know, very hard to monitor. So, yeah,
That's the thing.
What I'm worried about, of course. The more exemptions we have, the bigger risk we have. And it should be super critical if they're going to put us at that type of risk.
Yeah.
I think that's what they should rename it. Go through the list and only super critical service workers. Like super, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's got to be worth the risk.
Yeah.
So you guys, I wanted to move on to the budget.
Can I just break in here?
Okay.
803, we're KUAM FM, Agotni, Guam. On the radio side, this is The Breeze, 93.9 FM. Good morning.
The budget, you kind of mentioned it, that public health, right? They're looking at a $12 million cut in the proposed budget that was submitted by BBMR.
Yes. And the hospital, about $8 million. So they haven't fully explained the rationale. I'm hoping to flush that out, but it looks to me like the rationale is based on, because these agencies are receiving federal funds because of COVID, that they have less need for local funds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's argument is kind of surprising, because in the DOE, remember, we heard that argument as well, and then DOE came back and said, COVID response is on top of what we're already supposed to be doing, right? It doesn't supplant it, it doesn't replace it, it's not going to take care of diabetes on Guam, you know, like public health is supposed to be doing. And so all of those mandates that they have, I just want to make sure that they're going to be taken care of. And so we got to pay close attention. I think the good thing, of course, is that Medicaid is changing. It may change and it expanded, and then that's great, because that frees up some money for public health to use for other purposes within their budget. But yeah, so we did receive that budget. That's overall in the government, there's a big cut, about 20 million. And so that's on top of the 67 million that we cut last year based on reduced revenue. So this reduction in revenue, I mean, it's critical. It's affecting our critical services now. I think it's very obvious that we're going to see that in the upcoming year. And I asked, they said this continues to fund personnel, but I need to see closer the impacts to the services that we are providing. And I just think we have to make sure that those are prioritized with this type of cuts. And we have to, there are some smaller agencies, for example, like land management, right? Where when you make a cut to an agency that's only receiving a couple $100,000 a year, it's a huge impact to their services. And so we just have to take a very close look at those. I want to make sure that the government is operating fully to provide services that the businesses need, so that there's no delay. We hear so many complaints about delay, and like I said before, I think, they've got to speed everything up. They've got to be on hyperdrive. The government right now, we're providing services for businesses so that they can catch up. Everyone can catch up. All of this, of course, take care of our families, open our schools, and make sure that we can do that all safely, quickly.
Do you see any cuts to agencies that aren't necessarily needed or aren't providing priority services at this time, or that may be luxuries?
It's not obvious at first glance. So I have to spend some time. I'm hoping we're going to hear, some presentations on the revenue projections themselves, right? And so we are opening businesses. I'm hoping our revenues will pick up, but the projection looks even worse than FY20, right? So.
Speaker, do you think that the entire process will be more cooperative this session with the budget, as opposed to some of the things we saw the last couple of years where, Lester Carlson, they didn't even show up sometimes?
Well, I think it needs to be. I hope everybody, we have no room for any of that. We only have space, I think, when we're facing cuts to critical government services, such as healthcare. that everybody should be sobered up and straight up, and we just got to go with real, with the truth. And hiding the truth is not going to serve anyone. And delaying these very frank discussions that we have to have is not going to serve the interests of the public. They, I think that causes great anxiety. When the legislature's not able to see things, the public's not able to see things, the legislature's not able to act swift enough, it has huge impacts. And so I just hope that's not the case, Chris. And of course, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure of that.
Can we move on to the judiciary?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so obviously there's more stuff that came out of this Mark Mayo trial in the district court, which there was allegations made about warrants being wiped. But when this came out, me and Bree kind of just did a quick search of our archives, and then I remembered that obviously this issue had come up during former Mayor Jesse Blas's hearing, and I remember at that time you had an oversight, right? And the last we heard at the end of 2019 was that the Chief Justice had assured you that they were investigating it, right? So has there been any follow-up with that, or where are we now, and do these new allegations
my understanding is, first
you?
of all, when we had that oversight, that was probably the first oversight of the judiciary that had ever been done. And at the time, I was criticized because of separation of powers. Does this violate separation of powers? Is it really proper for the legislature to have oversight of the judiciary? And I thought, actually, yes, this is the perfect reason why oversight exists. It's because the judiciary is acting as law enforcement in this matter, and the marshals were acting as law enforcement, and in that capacity, absolutely yes, I think they should be subject to oversight. At the time, of course, the Chief Justice had assured me that they had spoken with the FBI and that there was no one there under investigation, and that they had completed their own internal investigation. And it's so those are the facts I know. I think the conclusion was that either, FBI was not pursuing anything there at the judiciary because none of the people involved were still there, or I don't know the reasons. I can't speculate for the FBI or any of the law enforcement why they're not pursuing more, except that I think the judiciary looked at it and said that without any more information that they've, done their investigation. And then, but our oversight, I wanted to make sure that even if they had found nothing at that time, that these types of allegations could actually not occur, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we found was that the more discretion that is given to individual marshals, for example, as to which warrants they would pursue that day or would execute that day, that maybe that was a place where they could, just tighten their procedures on, so that less discretion or more checks and balances. So we did discuss that. They did review their process, and they did tell me that they were putting into place some checks for that to ensure that it wasn't, that the discretion was reviewed at least, and that it wasn't totally limited. But the other thing is that, some of these allegations make it sound like it's the judges that are in on it, right? That it's the judges that are vacating warrants, because only judges can vacate warrants, not marshals. And so, the judiciary is very concerned about that, especially this recent allegation. So I think I'm having a meeting with the Chief Justice on Friday, and I should hear from them what they have either done or will do in this regard. These are, taking place, it sounds like, at the same time period as what we, had our oversight on in 2019. So, yeah, but it's very concerning for me. This is a law enforcement matter. It's kind of like, if the law enforcement are finding things that need to be investigated, then, I surely hope that they are investigating, and that they are, we're just not hearing about it because of it's, classified or something. But other than that, if they have any reason to believe something as serious as that is continuing to happen at the marshals, then I absolutely implore them that they need to get on it. Yeah, of course. Our legislative powers, we can investigate things that we can find, the fact, but we're not law enforcement, unfortunately, and so I am going to rely on the AG's office, the police department, the marshals, and any other law enforcement that they want to bring in to make it look more objective or to be more objective, then they should do that.
It's interesting with these federal drug trials and this most recent Mayo trial, when they played that audio recording of the FBI agent interrogating Mayo, and he was like, hey, who are the dirty cops, who are the dirty customs officers, do you know anyone at the port? Right? So clearly the federal authorities are just throwing it out there that we've got some dirty cops, the dirty customs officers. How concerning is that for you, just dealing with the public confidence in these institutions that, the court is supposed to be above reproach. And it sounds like it at least at the time of these trials, is very corrupt.
Yeah, I don't know how widespread, although, right, the corruption is very concerning, any corruption. But it's like, the allegations against public health. I feel so bad for those frontline public health nurses that are working every day, every weekend, and yet when there are complaints made against, a couple people, it ruins all of their kind of reputation and morale. So, I'm just hoping that that's the case at the court, that this is a very isolated type of incident. I don't know. And, but I very much expect that law enforcement to do their jobs and to let us know what it is. Just like at the port, same thing. We hear rumors, I hear even DEA agents stop me on the street to say, hey, keep asking questions. But it seems like a very complex, sophisticated, drug investigations that might be going on, but without public conclusions, at least right now, and that's all I know. So that's very hard for me to pursue, right? Yeah. I also need.
But I feel like it's fair to say that you guys would definitely have a vital role in this, because we can't really just sit back and expect these bodies, these entities that are the subject of these accusations and allegations to investigate themselves, right?
Right. Of course, I think we do, and I for one take that very seriously. So that's why I'm following up with all of my oversight committees, and that's why I try to attend these oversight committees hearings and ask the questions. And sometimes it's surprisingly, you get criticized for asking questions. Maybe and feel right, but I up to now I can't understand that. It's kind of like, you want me to do my job or not, right? And my job is, if I am not understanding what might be going on, or if I cannot pursue what has been told to me on the side as a potential criminal activity or potential political washing of the situation, then I would not be doing my job. So it bothers me a little bit, at first, when people criticize or even more seriously, say, hey, you're going after one member of our family at the port, and we're all I'm like, come on, we're talking about the government of Guam, and we all are in the government of Guam, and we want the government of Guam to look as best as it can, to be the best that it can. And so I don't know, if I'm the manager at the port, I would want scrutiny, and I would welcome it, and I would say, give it all you've got, and then when you clear us, we're clear. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Speaker, I can't even wrap my head around that farce of an oversight hearing at that. No disrespect to Senator Talina, but really, you're right. I felt like it was beyond control, and people are getting attacked for just simply asking questions. And so when you hear these federal agents talk about, during interrogations, who do you know at the port? But then you have the general manager of the port saying, oh, there's no evidence drugs are coming in here. and just, putting his heels in the ground. And I mean, really, he continues to attack you guys for, like you said, doing your job. And I don't know, at what point does the governor call Rory down to Adelup and say, hey, you need to chill out a little bit, man?
I don't know, but did you see yesterday's oversight hearing on customs, right? Customs reported 0 interception of drugs at the port in the last 5 years. 0. And so what's your conclusion from that, right? Something is wrong. It's either there are no drugs coming in through the port, or they're just not reported, or they're just not looking, right? And so I don't know. I just feel like we are on the side that the legislature has to look at all sides. We're trying to take care of people who are addicted to drugs. We're trying to take care of law enforcement that is understaffed and needs to, get a handle on these drugs in the community, stop the theft of homes and burglaries and all of the crime that's going on. And yet, we are, we can't have a free flow in any of our ports. And so I still believe it's very critical for us as a legislature to make sure that we do everything in our power to stop the drugs coming in at all of our ports of entry, all of them. Anyways, Chris, can I just want to remind your listeners that I've called the legislature to session on Friday, and that's at 10 a.m. So that will be this Friday, the 12th, 10 a.m. It's our first session. It's about, this week is about a month from inauguration. But in this month, I want to say this legislature has been very busy. So I don't know what will be on the agenda on the session. That would be decided in today's Committee on Rules meeting this afternoon at 2. So people can watch that on YouTube or on the legislative channel. But otherwise, they could see a list of it, and then they could go to the website and read the bills themselves, or read the committee reports and see exactly what the legislature is going to be discussing in session on the 12th. But in this 1 month that we've had since inauguration, the legislature's actually had 6 oversights. I feel like I'm at a hearing every day. So it's really, I feel like all my colleagues are working hard. I always think I'm working hard, but they're all working very hard, I think, because 6 oversights, that's actually a lot. It's like, and they were over DOE, Guam Land Use Commission, Port Authority, Department of Labor, Public Health, and the Customs, of course. And they've had about 57 bills introduced. This is a huge amount compared to prior years. And so at least like for my committee, I've received about 37% of the bills referred to my committee. So we are hustling to try to get hearings for these and get these heard. Right. Joseph Augustine's committee, the appropriations, has maybe over 50% or maybe 44%, 40 in the 40s percentage of all the bills referred to his committee. So he too, we're struggling to find enough hearing dates and get these heard. But there's quite a bit of bills, a lot of them dealing with the pandemic, of course, response to businesses, taxes, infrastructure, some trying to take care of just the government services like land use application reviews, make that faster. We've got that workforce housing issues that are coming up as well. We had a hearing on, and so that bill's being reported out. But also utility rates, all kinds of bills, and so I'm just actually very impressed that everybody seems to be working hard. I'm seeing good attendance at the hearings. Excellent questions. I've actually been impressed by some of the questions that my colleagues proffer at these oversight hearings. So I'm very happy for that, and the hearings on the bills.
Speaker,
I just wanted everyone to know that's coming up, and they can check out the bills that are going to be discussed on our website.
I kind of wanted to just last question here on that note, right? I had asked Crystal Pacos and Augustine about the open government law, which was, I think, the first thing that was suspended at the onset of the pandemic. And, never got an answer. But I'm just curious, at what point do we unsuspend the open government law? Because it seems like, let's say we open the game rooms. We're talking about opening the bars. We're doing all these face-to-face things. I just really don't understand why that hasn't even been discussed. So when you talk about, hey, we're having session Friday, I was just thinking, like, I don't think you guys are even obligated to announce anything because the open government law has been suspended. I mean, I don't know.
Well, maybe, I don't know. We haven't really gone down that road whether the legislature is obligated to, follow the open government law under these pandemic executive orders or not, but we are. I think the legislature absolutely is. For example, I gave out notice for this session.
Right.
And the 2 days notice was just yesterday for the session. And so I made it very clear to my staff, we are going to follow the open government law no matter what. And I'm with you, Chris. I think the rest of the agencies, they have no reason not to be following open government law at this time. We've made it very convenient for them by allowing by statute teleconferencing or, that could take place if necessary. But the goal, of course, of open government is to get public input. So we just have to try, and I'm talk to all the staff here at the legislature to try to make sure that we understand we have competing roles. We're trying to protect ourselves from COVID, protect our staff from COVID, protect the public from spreading COVID. Yet public input is critical. So we have to accommodate that. We have to allow for that. We have to encourage that and welcome it. So in any way that we can, we're trying to do that.
Okay. You good?
Yeah.
Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you.
Be safe.
Take care, Sabrina.
Have a good
Jason.
session. Break a leg. Break a gavel. See you. 8:24. This is Speaker of the Guam Legislature, Speaker Therese Terlahi. Let's keep it in the KUAM News Zoom room where we have Education Superintendent John Fernandez joining us for a weekly Edu update. Good morning, John.
Day, good morning, Sabrina, Chris, and Jason, and your team over there. Good to see you again. And of course, yes, it is our weekly update. And yesterday we were very glad to be able to open our first set of community learning centers. So that is one of our updates for this week. As you know, through this pandemic situation, it's really been tough to try to continue with the mission of educating our kids. And one of those challenges really has been access to technology and access to the internet. And of course, we continue to try to push laptops out. And by the end of February, once we get the bids back on the 22nd, we are working on having the internet solution at home be available to those students who are interested. But the CLCs are kind of part of that same strategy. And yesterday at 8 of our schools, including CL Taitano, where we were able to host a group for our presentation, we were able to open up parts of the school facilities after hours. And at these community learning centers, you would definitely be able to have access to laptops and access to the internet signal at school that currently isn't used after hours. So we thought that would be one way to at least start off and trying to make that available. We had members of our board there, but I think also importantly, we had members of our community, including Mayor Hoffman at Sinahanya, which is the village where CL Taitano is located, as well as Mayor Savaras, who is a member of the Guam Education Board representing the Mayor's Council, who also oversees, in her village, about 9 schools under her watch. And so it was good to have the partnership of our mayors and support of our mayors, because it really is a community school partnership that we're talking about and which we want to see grow. So part of our effort right now is to get the word out, now that we know that we're able to function and open, get the word out to all of our school stakeholders and to let them know it's available. Right now, the centers are open on Monday, Tuesday, and Friday, and they are going to be operated from 3:30 to 7 in the afternoons on those days. And depending on what the demands are from the community as we go along, we're going to want to see if there's a need to expand services or provide programming for those sites to include things like tutoring services, opportunities for organizations who work with youth to be able to come in and utilize the sites, things like that. So we're grateful that we were able to launch, and we look forward to working with our mayors to make sure those centers are accessible and sustainable over time.
I guess I wanted to ask about the couple students who tested positive. What other information can you give us on that, John?
So, since the beginning of this pandemic, we've made an effort to really be transparent about what we knew about the COVID-19 and the impacts on our community. So when we were shut down, it was a little easier because of the fact that we were shut down and we were reporting out the numbers of employees who were impacted, but a lot of these employees may not have been at school. So it was a kind of a different dynamic, but we did want our communities to know about that, what we knew at the time. So now we're back face to face, and we've had to also deal with the same type of situation in terms of how we, address the incidents that we are aware of, and then also let our community know. So we're in that first stage, and we knew we would get here. So we're looking at ways to make sure we communicate with our parents, teachers, and employees now that we're back to face. So we had 3 particular different incidents, positive cases that we are aware of, and for all of our employees, we're continuing to report all the employees that we're aware of, because our employees are required to report that information to their administrators so that we can effectively address and clear them to return. So we did have one employee from Price Elementary School last week, and so that was out there in the community. I know we already discussed that last week, and then this week we became aware of 2 separate positive cases involving students. One at Attica Elementary, and the other at Chief Brody Elementary School. So with every case, what happens, of course, is the contact tracing that has to take place, as well as disinfection at the school sites as needed, and then working with the individuals who may be contacts to make sure that they are quarantined and cleared before they are able to return to campus. So all of the processes and procedures that we put in place, it looks like our staff and our teams at the schools really understand and are moving quickly to address any situation that we become aware of. And what I'm learning is that right now, because of the way the schedule is, where we're doing 2 days online, 2 days face to face, and then we have a day for interventions on Friday, that's actually benefited us, because we're not talking about any positive cases that have been continually at school, right? So what you have is, if you came to school on Thursday and you didn't come to school Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, by the time we do get a positive, we can pretty much identify what's pretty much a limited contact at the school and the individuals who might be involved, so we can address the situation directly. I think, so right now, the way we're set up, it does enable us to, I believe, directly and safely address and monitor the situations at our schools, but it definitely is going to pose a challenge as we move forward and start to reopen, for further face-to-face. Right. But at this time, again, what we know is, we know of those 2 positive cases. We are have contacted all the individuals who are identified as contacts, and are working with public health to make sure that they are cleared before they come back. My experience with the employees that were involved in the Price Elementary School is that those who are quarantined were also arranged to be tested. And then obviously, if there's no positive test, they still have to stay in quarantine until they were cleared to come back to the office. So, a similar approach will be done for the contacts at Chief Brody and Attica Elementary.
What about the status of I believe it was with the education stabilization funds? I know we kind of touched on this last week, but has there been any updates?
Last week we really we spent a lot of time working with different groups. So that included our school administrators at GDOE. It included the administrators of our private nonprofit schools, which include all of our charter schools and private schools together, and then also with school leadership teams that involve teacher leaders at all of our schools. And we were joined by Lieutenant Governor Josh Tenorio and his staff as well, because they do have a portion of funds that are allocated to the governor's office, about $33 million, in addition to the $110 million that GDOE has to decide on how to spend. We are looking at a timeline of about, I believe before the end of February, we want to submit our budget proposal to USDOE. And by that time, we have gathered input, prioritized the requests, and then put together what we hope can be approved by USDOE so the funds can become available. In my conversation with our stakeholders, what I've said is, look, we had about $42 million that came in, and that was really aimed at immediate response. We were hit by COVID-19, funds came in, so the question was, we're in shutdown mode, but we need to figure out how to keep our employees, students safe, and then also how to make the rapid shift to distance learning. Now with this additional set of funds, we're looking more at what it's going to take to recover from the pandemic. So, in my mind, that means we started face-to-face instruction. What is it going to take to be able to maximize face-to-face instruction in a safe school environment, going forward? So the discussion we're having right now with our stakeholders really has been focused on not just continuing with distance learning and strengthening technology and all of that, but also how can we improve the facilities in which our students are going to be, spending their day in. So talking about air quality, improvements and upgrades to air conditioning, air purification, looking at ways to facilitate physical distancing on campus. So there is discussion about things from plexiglass dividers to canopy repairs, and also how to keep areas, really sanitized. So looking at restrooms and, again, more hand washing and water bottle filling stations and so forth. So, it is really looking forward and looking at that light at the end of the tunnel and trying to define what the new normal is going to look like for schools. So I like that conversation. It really is focused on, let's get our kids back to school. We know they need to be back. And as long as the community is safe, that strategy is there for us to pursue. But we have to really realize that we're not going to get out of this and then go back to the way things were before. We can envision a future of face masks, of physical distancing, hand sanitizers and all of that. So what else can we do to make sure that as parents and students consider and opt to return to school, that we can really provide them a greater assurance that the environment at school is safer, given our experience and given the impacts of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm. John, I wanted to give you an opportunity to respond to some of the concerns that were raised last week when we had Catholic School Superintendent Juan Flores on the air, and he was expressing frustration with the entire procurement process. Do you have any updates or a response to what he was talking about?
Well, I understood he was on the radio and, had public comments. And then, of course, we interact with them, on a day-to-day basis with staff who are available to answer any questions that he has. And so all I can say about that is that, procurement is required for these, for the expenditures of these federal funds. And I think I indicated to him that, the items that he was requesting, the requisitions were entered in the first week of January and were awarded at the end of January. With regard to the delivery of those goods and services, obviously it's up to, it depends on the vendors and the availability of those goods to be delivered from the vendor. So, my comment to that is, if you get your requisitions entered in the beginning of January and awarded before the end of January, that might be a government record as far as procurement goes. And I'm joking to my team because I was telling them, I said, hey, some of these Catholic school procurements are going faster than ours. So, it's a part of the process. We all know that we have to go through all those steps. It's not easy. It's sometimes very frustrating because we have a high volume of goods that are being ordered, and you want all of them to move quickly and at the same time. So he's asked, just to be updated on the information. I have staff saying, look, just give him regular updates, because I know that his administrators, some of whom have reached out to me, directly to share what they're, what's happening at their schools. We know that they also need to be talking to their parents and students and letting them know what's happening. So, I do, have a difference of opinion when it comes to criticizing the staff that I know are working very hard to try to get this done. But at the same time, we all want the same thing. We want our kids to be safe. And I've told the staff to please keep them updated regularly with weekly updates, whatever we can. But we're all in the same boat. I mean, we all have to do the same, go through the same requirements. And yes, I think as we look at the $110 million ahead, we are looking at the ways to enhance, staffing to support that. Kind of tough when your budget got cut 30 million and you're facing another $18 million in projected cuts to start talking about adding staff. But with $110 million coming, we're gonna have to find a way to address that need, and that's an ongoing area that we do want to address.
Well, speaking of cuts, have you had any further discussion with, Senator San Augustine or your oversight chair regarding the concerns you have about this potential $18 million cut since we last spoke?
We haven't yet, but I know our chair and vice chair. We're going to be scheduling meetings, I believe, with both the appropriations chair, Senator San Augustine, Senator Nelson, our education chair, and also Speaker Terlahi as well. So and we will be making the rounds. We know this is we realize that there is a major budgetary challenge that affects the entire island and all agencies. And we know that over the next, 7 to 8 months, we're going to have to figure out what is, going to happen to ensure that we're able to function. So we will have those conversations. We also are monitoring the federal side, and we're kind of we're hopeful that the federal side will continue to, come through in terms of some of the supports that are being discussed in the $1.9 trillion package that President Biden has been pushing and has been making its way through Congress. We recognize that there are supports for state and local government, which I think will help the government of Guam, and also an additional round of funding that potentially would be reserved for education as well. So, there are lots of things that could happen over the next few weeks and months that would impact that budget discussion. So we're just kind of monitoring all of those and of course doing our homework internally to figure out, what those impacts will be under the worst case and best case scenarios.
Mm-hmm. It's been a while. We've heard about charter schools, so I'm not sure if at one point GDOE kind of oversaw, I want to say, the finances of charter schools. I don't know if that's still kind of in place, but I noticed the charter schools, they're scheduled for an oversight hearing tomorrow. Is GDOE participating in that at all, or is it separated now?
Yeah, we're not. I'm not planning to because we no longer have any role with the charter schools. Nor do we have any role with the Charter School Council. Okay. So, we hope that if we're needed, we can, definitely we're available to be contacted and provide any support that's needed. And, we had done that. I believe we had done that in our role in the past. I don't know that it was always favorably received when we identify that these are issues that need to be addressed. But I do think that obviously those issues that were addressed weren't made up. And I think, of course, it's just the role of other agencies now that have to be able to address that, including the public auditor and the Charter School Council. So we stand by ready to assist if there is any need. But at this point, we don't really have any connection to the charter schools from the standpoint of our local laws or local budget. We do continue to support them with federal funds, and so they are entitled to their share, and we do our best to try to facilitate their needs through that process.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure because with the pandemic, I kind of lost track of what happened, and so when I saw that, it's like I wonder if GDOE still monitors their spending, because I do recall some of the reports that GDOE would put out regarding charter schools and things that weren't necessarily funded, I guess, or the way they spent the money.
I think everything I've heard, it all comes down to financial sustainability, right? And so, I think with charter schools, the challenge is also to make sure that whatever funding is provided, whether it's through the government or through private funds, that there's a plan to ensure that the organization can survive, so that it can continue to provide the services that it's committing to students. So, and our wish is that they all have the ability to do that. In our role before, we were charged with doing that kind of analysis. What is their budget? What are they spending? Are they on track? And it wasn't always well received, because there's maybe this notion that we were trying to be competitive with them, and we're putting out information that wasn't favorable. But at the same time, now that we're not no longer responsible, we don't have that role. We can focus on our own internal improvements that we all we need to make as well. So we again we stand by, and we do hope that there is a solution for them as well. They serve students, and we care about the students getting an education. And in this pandemic situation, it doesn't help anybody. I mean, we're all kind of trying to make it through. So, I hope the legislature will, at least find an opportunity to not just find the reasons why there are issues, but, if there's support needed, we all need that. We all need the legislature's support to get through this situation.
Soup, I wanted to ask about return to face-to-face. I know you had said that when we open it up, parents express interest in getting their kids in. Have we folded any new students into the face-to-face modules?
We haven't expanded face-to-face, and so it is still the 2 cohorts. And I know that schools again have been operating on their own to be able to maximize within the existing cohorts. I have raised this in a discussion with the board, and I believe we'll be scheduling an update for the board soon. And then I'm sure that discussion will come up at that point. We do regular updates on for the board on the recovery efforts. So that's been a discussion I know that the members want to have. I do think that, again, there's such a tough balancing act. So at the same time that we want our kids to come back, and I know that many of us are pushing for more face-to-face, we are starting to see that this is just the 3rd week. We have a couple of cases with students. We want to see how that plays out. We have a second round of vaccinations that are for employees that we want to see, come to fruition. So they're just pieces that we want to see in place to be able to move to the next phase of this. So right now, again, as we're looking at the cases and making sure that all of our protocols and procedures are going well, that we can, feel comfortable with our approach. I know the second doses for educators and staff are really scheduled around the week of around the dates about February 20th to maybe 25th, in that range. And we're working with the governor's office and public health to make sure that those are arranged so that we can complete that. We have 1,400 employees who could be fully immunized after the second round, and hopefully more are taking advantage of it, that we will soon be added. And at that point, I think that really bodes well for the future expansion of in-class instruction, and maybe students and families will also have the confidence as well to go back.
I just wanted to close, unless Bree had any other questions. I remember last year, I don't know if it was with the ESF, but you were talking about there's a certain amount of funds that was supposed to go to counseling students about just the pandemic. So anything on that? And then also, I know just personally of students who are just struggling with the lack of motivation, right? Whether they're online or whatever, just given everything that has happened. Is there anything in place to kind of deal with that too? I mean, but it's obviously going to be difficult if you don't have the bodies in the classroom, right?
Right. So socio-emotional wellness has been a key component of our recovery effort. So for the most part, a lot of the sessions that we've been holding have really been for employees, for training, right? I mean, it's really training and to provide training for our employees to not only be prepared when we do go back to face-to-face to identify situations that might require further attention or referrals, but also about self-care. We all have to take care of ourselves through this pandemic situation. So a lot of our efforts to date really supported by our partnership with behavioral health and our internal team of psychologists and counselors, as well as with materials that we're able to share with our employees. That's been the focus. Now that we're coming back face to face, this is where, and as we expand face to face, this is where, we're going to have to put a lot of that training into action and continue to provide services over the coming, hopefully over the coming school year to those who need, the additional services. So some of the funding that we're talking about, we'll be looking at not just additional materials to help with the continued training and helping, to address the needs of our students, but also potentially for additional contracted services to provide that level of support should we need it over the coming year. But you're absolutely right that students have been through a long period of isolation. I have two of my own who have been through that situation, and it is, there's some positives, but there are obviously a lot of issues raised in terms of their lack of socialization and what it's going to take for them to return to their normal routines. One of the kind of I would say bright lights is that we started with interscholastic practices, and so it's been good to see and hear, what the kids are doing just to get back into some kind of normal routine for those who are in sports. But again, it's not normal. They have to do the temperature checks, the sign-ins, the masks, the pods, the cleaning, the equipment. I mean, it's a different operation now, but there is a lot of benefit to having them back and participating, with each other. So we're in discussion with the Lieutenant Governor about the opening of a sports, a limited sports season. I think a couple of seasons we're able to do, but really focusing on low contact sports and then maybe the moderate contact sports by the end of the school year, and seeing if that's possible. Just another opportunity to bring kids back. Otherwise, the strategy is to get kids back to face, and the way we do that is to keep the community safe and to invest funds to make our school facilities safe so that we can bring back our kids, not have to worry about them going in and out of shutdown and back again, trying to give them a stable, safe environment where we can then begin to help them in the recovery from this, from COVID-19. I don't want to be in a situation where we're going back and forth and we start up and then we close down. That doesn't help the situation. It makes it more, difficult to sustain. So if we can focus on safety, invest in our facilities, and take the expansion of face-to-face gradually so we can, be assured that we're on the right track, then we can begin a very stable recovery for our students, and that's the plan.
Okay.
All right, thanks, John. Really appreciate it.
All right, thank you. See you next week.
All right, see you next
John,
week.
Right on. John Fernandez, GDOE Superintendent. We now go, ladies and gentlemen, over to our very own Jason Solis for our next interview here on the link. It's 8:50. Good morning, Jason.
All right, good morning. Thanks, Chris. And all right, everybody, corn soup and chilaquiles. And now that I have your full attention, that is exactly the topic we will be talking about, at least in part, with the larger and certainly more important and more meaningful to our Pacific way of life here of what women bring to the table, both figuratively and literally, and who better to usher in this topic and the webinar that's going to talk about this subject than our dear friend Maneka Flores. Maneka, so good to see you this morning. Hafide.
Hafide, good morning, Jason, Kirsten, Sabrina. Thanks so much for giving us some time on such a active, exciting news morning. Thank you.
Yeah, how you doing? Always busy. As
Doing
long as I've known you, you're always working on stuff.
Yeah, keeping busy. There's a lot going on in the community, and it's a privilege to be able to do some programming that offers some analysis, some conversation, and some reflection. It offers something unique amid all of the challenges we're dealing with. We've got a lot going on. We've got a lot of struggle right now. I mean, just listening to everything every day, there's a lot happening. So we're excited to sort of create spaces for people to pause and reflect and participate in these conversations.
Yeah, and I love the fact that like the webinar that you've got coming up, it's actually a webinar series, and the first one is going to talk about, the title is quite literally what women bring to the table. And females in our not just our Chamorro culture, but in the Guamanian culture, right? The melting pot of so many different regional and international flavors and ethnicities and everything like that. Respect and reverence for the matriarchal spirit and for women, and what leadership they take in our families, in our communities. We had Speaker Therese Terlahi on before, a learned member of our community and a lawyer, obviously, and now she's leading the senators. But before we talk about like the whole bring to the table and everything, like, can you talk a little bit about what role the female plays, like in Pacific culture?
Well, Pacific women have very large, nuanced, complicated roles in our various communities, and the Pacific is so broad, and there's so many diverse roles that women play, even within Micronesia and even within Guam, and that's something we really want to speak to. If we say that Chamorro women come from a matrilineal history and a matrilineal culture, when we really look back at our history, it's really hard to, especially in more recent history, we can name some really incredible Chamorro women in history, right? But looking back further, it's more difficult. And so one of the things this particular webinar wants to tease out is, what are some of the archetypes of Chamorro women, positive and negative archetypes? And it's reflecting really on the themes of the first three webinars. So let me backtrack for a second. We are called Ihagen Familao and Guahan, and we're an Indigenous Chamorro women's nonprofit group, and we do a lot of different kinds of work in the community. We've only been in existence in a year, and we've done a lot in a year, from scholarships to several grant projects to this webinar series, which is entitled Mo'atna, Finding Our Way, and it's made possible through funding from Humanities Guahan, the National Endowment for the Humanities, and the Federal CARES Act, as well as the Guam Economic Development Authority, GIDA. And so we're very grateful to our sponsors for their support in helping us create these spaces. But this particular event is different from all the other webinars in that it's more interactive. It offers a reflective writing component. And so, the first three webinars were really looking at women's roles in history, whether it was in the family, in the community, private and public, all kinds of issues, from marriage to education to agriculture to activism, and to even very polarizing issues. And so this particular event, which is being presented with Desiree Taminglo Ventura and Simone Efigenia Perez Bollinger, is something that's gonna sort of encapsulate those three webinars, those first three webinars, but really think about the Chamorro woman archetype, and what are the ways that some archetypes are problematic, what are the ways that some archetypes are empowering, and how do we envision Chamorro women archetypes moving forward. It's entitled Corn Soup and Chalaquiles, Bringing Chamorro Native Narratives to the Table, because
the thumbs up went crazy on Facebook when I said that, Manieka. I was like, Corn Soup and Chalaquiles, and everybody was like, yes, I'm in. Tell me where to sign up.
Right. Well, it's inspired by, I know a lot of us saw this really great meme on Instagram a few months back, kind of asking folks, what soup do they identify with? Are you a corn soup? Are you a rosary soup? And there's some really great poetry, even in a zine by a group called Gumagela about, the rosary soup. And just so there's been a lot of conversation, what rosary soup or what kind of soup would you be? Would you be rosary soup? Would you be chalaquiles? Would you be corn soup? Would you be arroz kadu? And what are the characteristics of those soups? And so it was kind of a funny idea, but then, if we think about, what are the characteristics that we embody and we identify with? And then also, what are the archetypes, that we maybe identify with or don't identify with, or maybe some of even the archetypes that harm us and our health as Chamorro women, harm us in whether it's our physical health or our mental health as Chamorro women. How do we reevaluate, re-examine, and revisit these? And so that's where we get from the presentation component to the creative writing component. And so this webinar is different in that it's broken up into two parts. The first part will be presented publicly on our Facebook page, but the second part, the creative writing component, is a closed component, and registration is required. Its space is limited, so we really want to encourage folks to women to register ahead of time, and space is limited. So and then so that will be taken off live, because of course it's hard to have a creative space when it's public. It's not a performance. And so I just shared the links on the chat, Jason, if you want to share that with folks.
Absolutely.
But we will share the prompts and some of the inspirational images on our Facebook after the live portion, so that folks who haven't been able to register for the closed creative writing or reflective writing part can still follow along and write at home, and then we'll have other ways for to engage with folks to share with their responses to the prompts. But some of the prompts are everything from like remembering, writing about your connection to clan and family, and thinking of a Chamorro woman that inspires you, and what are her characteristics, and how can we use those to create new archetypes that empower and strengthen women in our community, and help us deal with things like trauma and many of the issues even that are were being discussed today. A lot of traumas that we experience on a daily basis. A lot of us deal with some of the things you folks talk about all the time, including issues of family violence, addiction, and raising a family in the middle of a global pandemic. And
if I can just say, Maneka, I really appreciate the fact that because I've known you long enough to know that when you tackle a problem or you want to investigate like a particular angle or an aspect of culture and everything like that, you've never shied away from shedding light on both the negative and the positive. And I like here how you say, we're not only highlighting the archetypes and the best examples of who women are in our culture, but also some of the stereotypes and some of the maybe some of the unfairness and the some of the things that people won't probably be too proud of and everything like that. So I think that's a really good, fair and balanced approach. And I also love the fact how you're using soup, particularly soup in Chamorro culture, as a metaphor for personality type. I've never seen that done before, but I'm totally in. How did you come up with that?
Inspired by a meme on social media. We can't take credit for that, but the idea and the theme of this particular webinar was initially kind of inspired by that meme that was going around. What soup are you? And the two women, Desiree and Simone, really took that idea. That was their idea. They ran with it. They loved that meme, and they were kind of thinking about how so Chamorro women what's expected of us, and what are the characteristics we're expected to embody, these stereotypes, and let's analyze that, because in the first 3 webinars we definitely talked about some of those stereotypes and archetypes, but this offers a different reflection on that. And of course, creative writing is a totally different way to respond.
And I love how you just localized it and everything, so you could say. And was it just those 3 types of soup? Was it the corn soup, the chilaquiles, and the rosary soup?
And rosary soup, yeah. So
Okay.
that was the meme that inspired that. It's a pretty funny meme. I'll find it and I'll share it with you so you can take a look at it. But a lot of people were talking about it for a while, saying, I'm definitely a corn soup. I'm definitely, a chilaquiles. And then some people were like, I love rosary soup. And some people were like, no, not rosary soup. So anyway, it's a fun conversation. It's a fun way to sort of start a conversation about, what are the archetypes that are limiting, that are harmful, but also the ones that are empowering, and what are the ways we want to reimagine, are those representations of Chamorro women, and what do they mean for us?
And I'd probably say you've probably given like many psychologists and psychiatrists a fair amount of work when you say like, what kind of soup do you identify with? And they could dive into that pretty much. So on behalf of the psychiatry profession and everything like that, thank you for your business.
I identify as all who.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
That's a great one.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Jason. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Maneka.
And Maneka, we've actually got both links that we put in our
Nice.
comments so that people can check out the part 1 of the webinar, which you said is free, and that's a little bit more interactive. But part 2 you have to register for, and that's a bit.ly URL, right?
Yeah, part 2 is where we have a smaller group of people who've registered, and they get to respond to these different prompts that analyze the Chamorro women archetypes. And so I mean, whether it's Our Lady of Camberlin or Agatha Johnson, or Gloria Nelson, what are the different Chamorro women archetypes? We've got like the white lady, even, right? The woman scorned, or we have like the mother who suffers in sorrow. But what are these, what are the archetypes throughout history that we want to maybe unpack, revisit, and maybe even what are some archetypes we want to create and re-envision?
I was even thinking of maybe the female from the Legend of the Two Lovers, because she was very rebellious, and yet she was completely devoted to the love that she believed in and everything, and literally gave up her life to spend eternity with her beloved.
Ah, sorry, it's Valentine's Day week. Okay.
But hey, a lot to think about, and probably a lot to learn about yourself, about your neighbors, your fellow Guamanians, and the reverence we have for our women here in this part of the Pacific. So Maneka, thank you so much for doing this and everything. We couldn't thank you more.
Thank you so much for having us.
All right, fascinating topic. Please stay safe.
And
Good to
thank
see
you for your kind words about the link too. See you. Okay.
Okay, so Mr. Ahu is here. Sabrina, as a proud Guamanian woman and everything, what soup do you identify with?
Sutago.
Oh. Which one?
Sutago is that, I don't know if that's what they mean by the rosary soup, but it's the glass noodle soup with the stewed tomatoes and the black pepper.
Yeah, I love that one.
I always thought, Maneka kind of shone light on that, shed light, I should say.
Shined light.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, the rosary soup. It's a lot of people were like, "Hey, you're not supposed to go there, man. That's rosary soup, dude. That's hallowed ground." But that is really, really interesting. How you say, what part of your personality do you most identify with? Okay, chat room. What do you guys think? What type of soup? And it doesn't have to be a Guamanian soup. Do you identify with? Chris said he's Joser. What type of soup do you identify with?
Sinigang.
Sinigang. He's in the Sinigang.
Joser's a Sinigang. Surprise, surprise.
Sir, what do you call that soup with? Because one of my cousins married a Filipino guy, and so when they have gatherings, they have the soup with the macaroni and the hot dog and the milk.
Oh, that's sopas.
Sopas. So it's just soup. Yeah. Okay, there you go. 904.
That's going to be a really good session. I'm going to check that out. That's very interesting.
904, we're KUAM FM, Hagatnia, Guam. This is the link on the breeze. We'll take a quick break, and we're coming back with the hospital administrator, William Kando. Next. Good morning.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city, featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by the Bank of Guam and KFC.
Half a day. Does your child have a hearing loss? We are parents of deaf and hard of hearing children and volunteers with Guam's Positive Parents Together, and we are here for you. We know how you feel and have walked in your shoes. We want to help you navigate your way through our educational and medical systems, and most especially, your emotional journey. Please visit us at www.guamparents.org for more information.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
We got your 6
at 6 a.m. with the link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between with KUAM Digital, we got your 6.
Long ago we sailed the open seas, guided by
to an ever sinking hope. Well, the road is long and there are many miles ahead, and the moon is high, but I remember what you said. I'm giving it time, I'm giving it faith, I'm giving it more than I ever did take. Don't turn it around, no giving it.
Great stuff. Great album. That's Microchild, Navigator. 909 as we navigate and sail through this Wednesday. What a beautiful day. Right, Joe, sir? Look at that. When we say beautiful, we mean might be Guam is hot. Might be Guam is hot. Yeah, it's a hot one. 909, let's head into the KUAM News Zoom room where we have the Chief Medical Officer for the Guam Memorial Hospital, Dr. Annie Berdalio. I hope that's your title. If not, you just got promoted. Good morning, Doc. Thanks for joining us. How goes it at the Guam Memorial Hospital?
Well, it's still going. We still get our, daily 1 or 2 COVID patients coming through the emergency room, but our census is still quite manageable. I think we have 8 COVID patients in the hospital and 3 what we call PUIs, or persons under investigation, which are basically may have some exposure, and we're just waiting for the test results. We still have 2 people in the ICU on the COVID side, and they're still on ventilators. So, but again, we just need everybody to pretty much stay vigilant and stay careful. I know that even for us, we all have vaccines or got vaccinated, and we're still, it's also been a long process. We're a year out and we're all tired of being super careful. But I think it's still pretty critical, especially, as we open more of the community, and we're seeing maybe a few more travelers come back. So I think that's, it always makes us a little worried for the future. But at some point, I think we will adapt and learn to live with, hopefully a small amount of this disease.
Doc, so you said that you guys receive 1 to 2 COVID positives through the emergency room daily and other PUI cases. Where are those numbers reported through the JIC?
Yes, they're reported as positive tests through the JIC.
Okay.
Some of them are OP positive and they just come to the emergency room for care, but don't necessarily have to be admitted.
Right. I wanted to ask just briefly, if I could, about something that came out of the public health oversight hearing the other night. Dr. Cabrera had talked about the need to remain vigilant, because in the event that we see anything like a variant outbreak or anything like the second surge, that we wouldn't be able to make the ask for the travel nurses or the DOD doctors or any other supplemental medical personnel, because they're assigned and stretched thin in other areas. Is that accurate?
Yes, that is accurate. I think the federal government responds. A lot of these teams are emergency activated teams. So wherever there's the biggest surge in need, that's typically where they go to. And because the US has been surging after our September to November surge, then they really started to, their numbers went off the charts. So all of those assets have been relocated, or I should say reallocated to the mainland. So it's very difficult to, even actually during our surge, there was a lot of negotiating and basically begging on our part to get them here on site. And we were very lucky to be able to get that emergency team where I believe it was 30 ICU nurses and 2 intensivists that were stationed here for 30 days. And I think we got them to extend it for another 15 days. But again, there was a lot of competition and pulling, and I think we also have tried to, again, we're hiring, we work with the contracting agency in the States to bring nurses here. And again, there's a lot of competition for those nurses. Actually, the going rate now is over $200 an hour for ICU nurses. So we're trying to keep the ones we have, even though we don't have a high census, because once we get the census, they're not going to be, they're not easy to move around that quickly too. So we're trying to keep at least a reasonable number of staff to respond in case, because there's not a lot of resources out there that can be mobilized that quickly anymore.
Is there any information that you could provide, any additional information regarding this 18-year-old that passed away? In the Joint Information Center report, it stated that she'd passed away from COVID. But when you look at some of the media stories that are being put out, the family's saying that she was tested at GMH and it was negative.
Well, Sabrina, I mean, obviously, because of privacy concerns, we can't really talk about any patients that have come through the hospital in any specific terms. I think, generally speaking, the testing that we do, there's several tests that we do. I think really everybody who comes through the emergency room gets a rapid test. So those are tests that we do immediately if they have any, if actually all of our patients who come through the emergency room, we generally are testing them. So those tests come back very quickly in a 15 to 30 minute time frame. And we kind of base where we place them, what kind of isolation precautions we use initially on those tests, but they're not 100% accurate. So we also, again, I just mentioned our census, we have 3 PUIs, or people under investigation. Sometimes patients have symptoms that might be consistent with COVID, even though the initial testing is negative. And again, it's back to how we've been doing this now for a year and how exhausted everybody is of just hearing about COVID. I will tell you 6 months ago or 9 months ago, if you sneezed, we didn't care what your test was. We would retest you 4 times if we thought there was a significant risk that you had COVID. I think, now we may be relying on these tests. The difference is the gold standard test, which is the PCR test that gets swabbed and goes to public health and gets tested at their lab, is a 3 to 4 hour test. So it takes several hours. It can even take a day or two depending on what their load is. But generally for the hospital patients, we get the results, twice a day after the morning run and after the evening run. So those tests really are the confirmation tests. And I will tell you, for lots of patients, even when those tests were negative, if we were highly worried, they remained PUIs and remained isolated, and we repeated the test. For patients that the suspicion maybe was a little bit less, we went ahead and put them on the regular floors, basically the non-COVID areas. And this has worked pretty well, but again, it's not 100%. So, we have had cases over the year that patients go home and they get sick later, and we find out they were COVID positive despite having a negative rapid test. And there's been very rare positive tests. I know that we've had one or two where the rapid test came out positive, but the PCR came out negative. So again, it's not an exact science, and the timing is, I think, sometimes where the information doesn't get shared appropriately.
So did an 18-year-old pass away from COVID on Sunday? Was it clinically diagnosed COVID, or was it through rapid testing?
We had an 8-year-old who had a positive COVID PCR.
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
So the PCR test was reported positive by the public health lab on an 18-year-old.
But was the initial test taken negative, or?
Yes. The rapid test was negative.
And as a result of the family going to the media, because I think even on our Facebook, one of the comments was it was false information, false news. Have you spoken to the family since?
Yes, we spoke to the family. So they, again, we're not really allowed to share, despite the family wanting to share in the media. Again, you can always contact them, but we're really not at liberty to share any of that patient information. It's just, it's a privacy law. And so, you're pushing me into a very fine line that I think, again, you want to ask general questions about our testing, you can. What we say or don't say to the family is protected, so I would appreciate maybe we don't ask questions in a public setting like this.
Okay.
Doc, you mentioned the gold standard and the rapid test accuracy. What concerns do you have with the accuracy of those rapid tests? Because that's what we're using now to conduct, I believe, a lot of the testing.
Well, Chris, I think in medicine, we have lots of different tests. A lot of them have different accuracies, and we choose what test to use based on what we're trying to accomplish. So, I'm an OBGYN, so a pap smear, or all of my patients undergo diabetic testing when they come as pregnant patients. So we have several different tests we use. When we're testing we want to test every single person in the world. We want a test that will pick up as much of the disease as we can, but it's easy, it's cheap, it, works fast. So those are how we decide. There's a million tests out there. And for COVID, I think, on the market already are quite a few tests. Some tests you go home, the pregnancy test, you just pee on a stick, versus me getting a blood sample from you and measuring how much pregnancy hormone you're taking. So the validity of all those tests are a little bit different from each other, and which ones we choose to use depends on on how many people we're testing, so if they're symptomatic or not. Clearly, the tests we use in the hospital, we try to use the most accurate tests that we can because these people generally are sick. They're symptomatic. We also have an issue about containment within our facility, protection of our healthcare workers. So I think, but we also need speed because we can't have people backed up in the emergency room and outside in the parking lot waiting for a test that takes 3 or 4 hours. We also don't have enough space to isolate every single person indefinitely. So the rapid tests are actually quite accurate. They're just no test, even the PCR is 100% accurate. When we're screening a large population, like for cervical cancer, we want every woman to get a pap smear. That test is not a test for cancer. It's a screen to tell me that you don't have cancer. So if we do the test on large amounts of people and it comes back negative, the negative test really is what we're looking for. We don't care about the positive test. The positive test doesn't tell me you have cancer. It just means you need more testing. Then you go to the real test. So when you're screening lots of people, we want that test to be sensitive, that if it says it's negative, we're not missing a lot of disease. But we sacrifice how specific the test is. So there's lots of patients who get a positive pap smear. They come for further testing, but they don't have cancer. But it's very few relative to the number of people we're testing. So in mass testing situations where we're going to test 500 people, that test is a little bit different. And we sacrifice some of the accuracy because, again, is it easy? Do we have a lot of them? Does it require 1 drop of blood? Does it require, sophisticated lab testing? And that's been a big issue in the beginning of the pandemic, is if it takes 3 or 4 hours to run a lab test, it's going to be hard to do 1,000 tests in a day. I think in the beginning we were limited to, I think the machine holds 30 or 40 tests, and we could only do it twice a day. And actually we were doing it 3 times a day. We were just running the lab 24/7. We had the lab person, we lent them a lab person so that they could run more continuously. But as these other tests became available, again, we sacrificed certain things so that we can do many more. So I hope that answers your question, but it applies in all of the things we do in medicine. There's multiple tests with different degrees of sensitivity and how specific the test is as well.
We had a oversight chair for GMH, Speaker Teresa Lahi, on earlier, and we were talking about the budget, and specifically for the Guam Memorial Hospital. It looks like GMH is facing an $8 million budget cut. Is that correct? And can any of you speak on how that will impact the hospital?
Well, I'll leave that for
I'm not aware of I'm not aware of that particular number. I'd have to confer a little with our chief financial officer, who has been preparing our with all of our input, has been preparing our FY22 budget. Mm-hmm. So I would have to confer with her on that number. But COVID has not been has been kind to us in some ways as far as bringing in federal funds. There have been some silver linings with COVID for us, but now that we have less COVID in the hospital, and of course we're hoping for no additional surges. We're hoping to get back to some sort of normalcy, whatever that is, so that we can start generating the kind of revenue that we can generate to be able to support. We're always striving to find ways to support ourselves. because we know because of COVID, the whole of the government right now is really financially challenged, and so we have to achieve or strive for some sort of independence financially, and so we're looking for ways to do that. We're looking for ways to we're looking to the future to enhance our outpatient services because of the better reimbursement rates that we could garner there. But I'm not sure of that particular number that you threw out. I'd have to confer with our CFO.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything new with the SNU or SNF?
The residents are still at the Catholic Social Services. We have a census of 10 as of this morning. Again, we are in the process of heading towards a final design for the isolation of our B wing at our skilled nursing facility. So we are planning to bring them home but we're still going to have to go through a construction phase for that project. So we're still taking care of them over there, and they're still doing their part as far as this response to COVID by keeping them this vulnerable population safe over there.
We do get a lot of questions about visitation. Is there any changes to the visitation policy over at GMH?
No, we haven't changed our visiting policy. I think we're, again, much like planning for surging. Mm-hmm. We're trying to wait till the end of February because of the schools opening. So I think once we feel like the numbers really aren't going up, we know it's important for our families to be able to be with their loved ones. So what we do try to do, and again, some people don't realize, is keep in communication via telephone or FaceTime or Zoom. A lot of the units have a lot of extra iPads that were donated or devices so that their family members can keep in close contact if they wish.
Can you give us, I guess, a rundown of GMH board? I understand. I believe they're scheduled to meet tonight. Is that right?
Or
met yesterday?
We met with our BOT HR subcommittee last night, and tonight we are scheduled to meet with the board. But this is specific to a COVID update. So twice a month we meet with the full board. One is always a COVID update regarding our response, and the other one is a full board meeting. So tonight's is just a COVID update for the board.
Where are we on the laundry list of repairs and stuff that was kind of a big conversation before the pandemic hit? The elevator, the roof, the electronic health records thing. Have we been able to resolve those issues?
Is this the Army Corps of Engineers report?
Yeah.
Well, relative to the Army Corps of Engineers assessment, at least 50%, I would say more than that, are underway. We're progressing on those in one form or another. Some of them require a design phase. Others do not, and so, of course, those that do not require a design phase, we're able to move along a little quicker. Like relative to the roof upgrade, which not only includes the roof but window and doors. Improving all of those potential areas where water could potentially seep into the facility during a downpour or a tropical cyclone. That one is going to be going through a design phase where we're letting out the RFP soon for that, and we're going to be designing that upgrade in a way that we do it in a phased manner. So as they're designing it, as they complete a phase in the design, we'll be able to let out that portion. We'll be doing it in small chunks so that we can mobilize it and complete it quicker, especially in those areas of the hospital that are worse than others as far as the roof.
Right.
The EHR is another one. We never stopped heading towards implementation, full implementation, full launching of the EHR. Our initial launch date was in May of this year. COVID has definitely had an impact on that, and so we will be delayed in our implementation. We've informed the board that that will be pushed back somewhere around. To help build the infrastructure, the IT EHR, and the training that they require doctors, nurses, allied health professionals. They had to focus. They could not focus on the implementation. They had to break away. Many of them had to break away because of their clinical responsibilities in the COVID response, and that's what caused a significant delay in implementing the EHR. But we are still working with MedSphere to do this, and actually we're planning for them finally. The other thing is they were never able to come out here. It's all been via Zoom, the trainings and different implementation aspects, and so that makes it a bigger challenge. But they are going to be able to finally come out here after, of course they would be probably in an initial quarantine, but we're finally going to be able to get them out here. We need them out here in order to effectively implement this EHR. The elevators, we did upgrade elevators 1 and 2. These elevators, of course, these were never brand new elevators that we just upgraded the existing ones, and so they just require constant maintenance and attention in order to keep all 4 elevators up, and so we're doing that. Relative to the main electrical distribution panel and sub panels, we continue to have a strong relationship with GPA because we've decided at this point, because we're going to be building a new hospital, that it wouldn't be prudent for us to replace the panel at a cost of anywhere from $6 million or higher. So we're maintaining the existing, which means replacing those parts that we need to replace to make sure that this system stays alive. And so, we're picking and choosing which projects we absolutely need to sustain ourselves for the next 5 to 7 years, and in the most cost beneficial way. And so like I said, quite a few of those projects are underway. We're not shying away from them. Some of them, of course, require availability of funds. We designed, for example, the OR to upgrade the ventilation system and even the flooring of the OR. The design phase is done, but it requires quite a bit of funding. Some of that funding was federal, quite a bit of it for the construction phase, but the federal funds that normally would come to us for that project, like DOI funds, they, even during COVID, their focus shifted. So we've been pending DOI funds for that particular project for about a year, for about the length of time that COVID has preoccupied us. So those are some of the examples. We are near completion on the communication center relocation project. We're about 2 weeks away. So some of the subcontractors are working with our main contractor to finish that project, and they are the last group of people that are going to be leaving the Z-wing for now, and then we'll be addressing the Z-wing as well. This is the
Z-wing. That sounds like zombies.
No, the Z-wing, that's on that's up to the right when you're facing the hospital, right? Are you frozen?
Say again.
The Z-wing, that's to the right when you're facing the hospital. I thought that was shut down.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 50 years old. It's still, that's where the existing communication center we still reside. So that we cannot, we couldn't
That's where I went to. That's where I went to kindergarten. Well, more than 50 years ago, I went to kindergarten in the Z Wing. Right at the very end was my classroom.
What about non-COVID census? Non-COVID and then morgue capacity?
The non-COVID census currently is at 109. Seven of those are ICU patients, non-COVID, with 3 of them on ventilators. And so, yeah, the non-COVID census has been staying kind of steady around 110, fluctuating below and above that. And so it's very manageable, like Dr. Budaya was saying earlier.
How does that compare to pre-COVID, pre-pandemic admission levels?
Yeah, it's right around, our average census is about 120 to 130. So it's still a little bit below. Also, again, but there are certain units like the ICU. Pre-COVID, we really only staffed, or we only had enough staff to have 6 to 8 ICU beds. Now we have enough staff for about 12, and our aim is to keep it around 14, which is our total ICU bed availability. So 14 to 18. During COVID, we had several units open. We had the 14 ICU beds. We had a Care 2, which has 4 beds, and we opened the recovery room and the operating room as a non-COVID ICU. So we really flexed to, close to 25 ICU beds, but the staffing for that relied a lot on travelers. So again, we're trying to come to the sweet spot, which is sometimes a difficult number to get to just because of the availability of staff.
How many staff are fully vaccinated now at GMH?
We've vaccinated those that have received 1 or both doses, 66%. This is both the staff and the licensed independent practitioners. And those that have completed, that have received both doses, 61%. Basically 864 out of a little over 1,400.
Wow.
Because we're counting the doctors in that count.
All right. Anything else over at GMH?
I think that's about it. I mean, we really this was a longer one today.
Well, we thank you guys, for
Definitely.
making time to come on and providing us an update on what's happening over at the hospital.
Really appreciate it. Just consider it a dry run for your board meeting tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
Stay safe.
Okay.
Thanks for everything you guys are doing.
That's that. We'll take a break here on the link. We'll be back with more next. Good morning.
The relationship between Guam and Manila, Philippines is undeniable as we share similar cultural traditions, history, and heritage, with generations of Filipinos calling Guam home. KUAM presents a monthly look at the capital city featuring in-depth and engaging interviews on everything from medical tourism to new business and government leaders. Veteran newscaster Nestor Lecanto delivers Beyond Our Borders. This special program is brought to you by the Bank of Guam and KFC.
GU Self-Storage, conveniently located near the Harmon McDonald's. We offer affordable rates, online payments, and auto bill pay for your convenience. Plus gate access daily from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Call us today at 648-7867 for more information.
Half a day. Does your child have a hearing loss? We are parents of deaf and hard of hearing children and volunteers with Guam's Positive Parents Together, and we are here for you. We know how you feel and have walked in your shoes. We want to help you navigate your way through our educational and medical systems, and most especially, your emotional journey. Please visit us at www.guamparents.org for more information.
We got your 6
at 6 a.m. with the link on Breeze 93.9 FM. Bree and I connect you with all the latest news and information you need to know to start your day.
Then check back with Guam's news leader at 6 p.m. for the day's top headlines with KUAM News Primetime.
From 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and everything else in between with KUAM Digital, we got your 6.
Hafaday, my name is Margarita Gay. I'm a registered nurse at the Department of Public Health and Social Service. The Centers of Disease Control recommends wearing cloth face covering in public places. Don't let your guard down. Prevention saves lives. For more information, please call 311 or check out our website at www.dphss.guam.gov.
Welcome back to The Link, everybody, on a Hump Day Wednesday. The midweek is upon us, and you know what? We have had a fair amount of very interesting feedback from Maneka Flores' interview. We did it about maybe 25 minutes ago. What kind of soup are you? And how does that reflect your personality? So you know what? Link fam, you guys are the greatest because from Chalampago, Bev Tess J Salas, you guys check this out. Bev Tess actually forwarded me the graphics of this meme that's going around, and we got it up right here. Joe Sir's bringing it up. So here it is, guys. And we want to know what you guys in comments feel about this, right? Your personality based off of the soup that you get at the Rosary, all right? Your first choice is corn soup. This means you are reliable. You would watch a show for the 100th time rather than starting a new one. You're a great listener and a shoulder to cry on. You're down to earth, and you keep your promises. I think I'm a corn soup. I'm pretty sure I'm corn soup. I'm also a Taurus, so whatever that means. All right. So are you corn soup? Could you also be the Rosary soup? You're respectful. You feel like you're born in the wrong decade. You think a lot. You're a good talker. You have a really good talent for holding a conversation, and you don't mind staying in. Actually, I think I'm
That's
Rosary.
Me.
I think I'm Rosary soup now.
This is the one with the clear glass noodles, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
and the black pepper.
and ground beef.
Ground beef, yeah.
And you gotta
My
have the
auntie
ground
put a lot of black pepper in
You
it.
gotta have the ground beef. All right. Or are you Chalaquiles? You're fun to be around, generous and kind. You give good advice, always down to do whatever whenever.
What?
And you find a way to make people smile. This is Joser. Joser is totally Chalaquiles, even though he said he prefers sinigang, right? All right. Or are you, last choice, are you the very popular Arriscado? Do you go with the flow? Do you enjoy outdoor activities? Are you responsible, willing to try new things, and do you see the bigger picture? All right, so your choices again. Are you Arriscado? Are you Chalaquiles? Are you the Rosary soup? Or are you the corn soup? I gotta say, I'm definitely corn soup.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm corn soup.
Yeah. I'm a tuna sandwich.
Yeah, like I'm not any of it.
Yeah. I'm in my own category.
Debbie says she's actually chili. Starts out mild, then the heat sneaks up and grabs you. Yeah, that's Mama Bear. All right, okay, Bree, I think you would be, where's the one that says stays inside a lot?
I don't stay inside a lot.
No, you said, or you're Rosary super. Yeah, respectful. Feel like you were born in the wrong decade. Well,
you think a lot?
I do think a lot.
Yeah. Stress out a lot.
I'm thinking right now.
Yep. Thinking about getting the hell out of here. So
Okay.
some of the takeaways this morning, Bree, unless you want to let Jason keep going with this thing. You good, Jay, on the soups? Yeah. Where's Cotampica? Is that really a soup? I don't know.
No, where's clam chowder?
Jason's like, I want a clam chowder. I'm a clam chowder.
All right, so yeah, the legislature, the Committee on Rules are going to be meeting today to go over what bills are going to be putting on session agenda, which is scheduled for this Friday. And if you heard from Speaker Terlahi earlier, we went over the oversight hearing over public health and the fact that since the inauguration in January, there have been more than 50 bills that have been introduced. There have been, what she said, 6 oversight hearings that have taken place. So she's kind of saying, they've been working. And I got to say, there's been a lot of bills that have been introduced and quite a few oversight hearings.
Right.
Some quite interesting.
Yeah.
Also, senators, they've been added to the eligibility group that can get vaccinated. There are vaccination clinics today through Saturday at UOG Calvo Fieldhouse from 1 to 7 p.m. But keep in mind the priority is for those who are due for a dose 2 of the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. They are having limited walk-ins, I think up to 50 per hour for eligible individuals. And this is for first dose, and they're only giving out the Pfizer vaccine. And before you go, you are advised to register online. Homebound vaccinations today in Dededo, tomorrow Global Dorm and Guma San Jose, then on Friday in Jigo.
There you go. Takeaways from the link this morning at 9:51. Jay?
I'm still thinking about the soup thing.
We are all waiting, though, for the verdict in the Mark Mayo drug case in district court. That could come out any time now.
Right, and they had closing arguments yesterday with prosecuting attorney Laura Sambatero doing about an hour of closing remarks. Or closing remarks. Closing arguments. But again, the takeaways which we addressed with the speaker this morning, more allegations of corruption at our local court.
We did get a statement from the local judiciary. Quote, to ensure the protection of the constitutional rights of those accused and preserve the integrity of our justice system and process, the judiciary of Guam is not able to and will not comment on ongoing or pending matters before the courts. So, yeah, Speaker Chalahi did mention that she is having a meeting this Friday with the judiciary, the Chief Justice.
She also mentioned that there was a little bit of backlash in her last round of oversight over the court. People talked about separation of powers, which I think it's going to be interesting as this legislature has had its, really its job and its responsibilities kind of roadblocked in some of these oversight hearings. So just really hoping for the best and hoping maybe something a little more than a meeting. But again, I want to kind of paraphrase Senator Frank Blas Jr., who talked about, hey, if the feds say they're looking into this stuff, if they're dropping these hints, then they probably got their own thing going. But on the flip side, I don't think we should just sit back and let the feds, take care of everything, right? I mean, you want to restore faith in the local government, there's a great way to do it. Come out ahead of some of these revelations and allegations and look like you're doing something about it. 9:53. Good job today, Bree.
Good job, Chris.
Joe, sir. Good job, Joe, sir. Jason Solis, as always, I think he's all the soups. To our guys in Master Control, our viewers on our Facebook Live feed, thank you guys so much for jamming with us here on the link on the Breeze. Your go-to jam is coming up. And then we got your 6 with our KUAM News primetime broadcast, right, Bree?
Yes, we do. What's today? Wednesday. Adriana Cotero. She'll be anchoring the news tonight, so make sure to check her out and the entire news team, Tyler, Peter, Joan, all of them, with their stories on primetime.
There you go. Got 9:54 now. My name is Chris.
I'm Sabrina.
Thank you guys so much, man. It's always great to do this show for you guys. We'll catch you here tomorrow morning on the link where we're going to be playing a little catch-up with the new CPS overseer, Melanie Brennan. It's been a couple weeks on the job for her, so we definitely want to find out where we are with protecting the children.
All right, and we actually will have an update tonight on that on primetime. I think Tyler interviewed Melanie.
As well as Terry Uggan, also from CPS.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
And they had an extensive conversation, and it was so long, and Tyler just went into so many different topics. I was producing that for. We're probably going to put the whole thing up on YouTube, just because
nice.
So much information covered. There's so much information you can take. They also talk about the need for foster parents, and they made an open call, and they said if you've ever considered it, now would be a great time. They talk about the application process and how you can be involved in opening up your home and your heart.
All right.
Right on.
That's tonight on primetime, and again, over here on the link tomorrow morning.
Yes. Thank you, guys. My name's Chris.
And I'm Sabrina.
Hasta. Adios.
Bye.
It's up to you what you wanna do in this lonely summer night. Just make sure that it's worth the while and that it feels alright.